Sorry.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
So, horror fans, once again, welcome back to the Horror Hangout stream. Once again, I am the Horror Mizamani G, and this one's going to be a very good episode as it's original horror movies versus remakes. A lot of people will probably decide which one is better, the original or the remake. And I'm pretty sure we'll have some definitely spirited conversations, especially to a certain doll. And I'm not talking about Megan either. All right, first of all, we have our fearless leader.
Starting out strong.
Yeah, starting out strong already. We're not even talking about Megan.
Jen's like, hashtag not my Chucky.
Not my Chucky.
I was hoping it wouldn't be your Chucky. That'd be a little weird.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a spirited one, this one. Of course, introducing first our fearless leader, Sean Patrick Urson from the Horror Corner. Of course, all the way from Ireland, it is Marty from the Trash Picture Show.
Oh, yep.
And the beautiful and talented, wonderful Triv from Trivia Theater.
Aww.
Yay.
And of course, Jen and Kristen from Jen's Reviews from the Grave.
Hi.
And
We exist.
And this time our guest is Full Moon Chris. Chris, welcome to the show, Chris.
Welcome.
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 Right. So I have here in my hand here a list of, I think, 12 horror films, remakes and originals.
Thanks for having me on.
Woo!
Thanks for originals. Of course, let's see who's in the chat already. We have a good fan, Tommy Lee.
Howdy, Tommy. How's the drumming going?
And my good buddy Sean Blue Digital, he is here in the chat with us.
What's up, Sean?
Okay.
Hey, Sean.
Now,
Awesome guy.
of course, we all have our opinions when it comes to original horror movies because we love them. We've always enjoyed seeing them. And of course, some people, while myself, I've always stated the fact that because Hollywood cannot keep a good IP down, they're going to be remakes. Hey, look, they're remaking The Exorcist this year, even though it's not considered a remake. But mostly all horror movies are going to get a remake. Now, whether those films are going to be decent or not, that's up to the individual viewer. And hence, that's why we're going to start with the first original versus remake. It's going to be the original Fly from 1958 with Vincent Price and David Cronenberg's The Fly in 1986, starring Jeff Goldblum. So, Jen and Christian, first of all, I will have to say this. Have you seen the original Fly?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay, good. So, which one do you like better, the 58 version or the David Cronenberg version?
This is an interesting place to start, Monty, because this is one of the few I wouldn't say one of the few, but generally most of the time, most people are going to like the original over the remake. This is one of the few times where, and I think most people would agree,
Almost universal.
that this is where the remake did it better. Now, I'm not throwing the 50s Fly under the bus at all. You got Vincent Price. And there's some really cool special effects for the time. Little cheesy, little hokey, but that's what makes it really special. But like for just the horror, that's what's so cool about this. They really did take what was good about this thing and make it and improve on it.
Yeah.
They took the best aspects and improved on it because you wouldn't think something cheesy and over the top like the original Fly could be so disgusting. It took David Cronenberg to be so disgusting. So my vote goes for David Cronenberg's. But I love that this is where we're starting because this really does show that occasionally a remake can do it better.
It's a very good pick. Cronenberg's my favorite horror director, so I feel like inherently I'm going to have that bias. But I do really respect the original Fly for what it was doing. But of course, it's got to go to the Cronenberg film, just to like, it's kind of the quintessential template of what you do with a remake. You have a director like Cronenberg who was heavily influenced by The Fly, watching that film on cable as a wee baby, and it really inspired him into the films he would make on later in his career, and then he pays tribute to it later on, but still really adding his own flavor and spin onto the original story of The Fly. Whereas like the original, yes, has a lot of hokey and charm to it, but the 80s one has a lot of, still has those elements to it. It still has the core of the original Fly in there, but it also adds in a lot of like classic Cronenberg, like social commentary with stuff. Like it's very evident. Like that movie came out during the height of the AIDS epidemic, so that stuff is very present throughout the course of that film. And just adding in lots of really, really excellent gooey, gross body horror effects. Like there's some great stuff in that movie. Like how can you say no to a movie where a woman gives birth to a maggot? That's just really cool. More movies need women giving birth to maggot. Like let's just have everyone give birth to maggots in movies.
And it shows what a hokey premise it was, and turn it into something actually scary.
Yeah, it's still really, it can do it. Like there's no such thing as a premise that's too silly that you can't do something cool with it. It just all comes down to execution. It's a prime example of the execution thing.
And maggots.
Just mostly maggots.
Although I don't think you want to give birth to a maggot, do you?
That's kind of a loaded question. No.
I mean, it might be I don't know, Marty. Stinky,
That
right?
thing would be
Not
flushed
birth. Like I don't
down
want to
the
take care of it.
fucking toilet the minute it fucking past your hips. Straight in the fucking John.
That's how The Fly 2 came to be.
Yeah, no. All right, Chris. Have you seen the original Fly of 1956? I mean, no, sorry, 1958. Can you hear me, Chris?
I saw
I think
that
there might be a slight delay.
back in high school, so
It will be right.
several years ago. It may be me.
Oh, looks like Chris
See if
is
that's
having
any
some.
better.
Okay, yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah. Technical difficulties are always a
back
bitch.
in high school, so 30-something years ago. I haven't really watched it since. It really wasn't something that I really enjoyed very much. So I would have to go with the remake being better on that one.
Good take.
What about you, Sean? Which one would you prefer, the original or the remake?
That's tough because I do have a love for those old, 50s sci-fi horror classics. There's something about it that I love. Even though, like Jen said, there's a little bit of hokiness. It's just something, like I love the old scores, those bombastic scores they had, and you gotta love Vincent Price. But yeah, you can't beat the amazing effects work on like the practical effects on the remake with Cronenberg is amazing. Like some of the best ever, so grotesque and horrific, It's a great example of body horror, and I do enjoy Jeff Goldblum in the film too. I prefer his take. Yeah, I gotta go with the remake.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Marty?
I'm probably going to go with the remake, but not for the lack of appreciation for the original. And I think Christian can attest to with me for this, because I'm a fellow arachnophobe. That scene in the original where the man flies like, help me!
Fuck that
Help
scene.
me!
Fuck that scene. Fuck that scene.
Yeah, that put the shit up me. But as Christian also pointed out, there is like the AIDS analogy in the remake, and it's interesting. It's a horror movie where the even John Carpenter's The Thing, where the entity, the evil entity, or the antagonistic entity is from within. It's still a malevolent force. This is Brundle's body breaking down. There's no villain per se. It's just a horrible accident, a horrible state of circumstances, and like, you know, you can laugh and joke about Jeff Goldblum putting his Mickey in a fucking medicine cabinet, but at the end of the day, it's a horrible fucking way to go. Like, you know. So yeah, I gotta go with I gotta go with the remake.
Yeah, because growing up in the 70s and having watched the 1958 version first, and then seeing that little thing screaming, "Help me, help me, help me," and being at the age that I was, and seeing that funny. And my brother and I watched it the first time, and we just laughed our asses off. And my mom comes and is like, "What's so funny? That's not funny." And we told her, "Yes, that is." And speaking of,
There you go.
Wait in the house. There's a good boy for you.
Goddamn Ted Turner.
I love it. It's great.
It's always
How about staying black and white?
you had a bad TV. It's so good, but fuck this scene also.
Look at him all in the web, and look how the spire's gonna go.
Okay, fuck you. Okay. I
Oh, humanity!
That is awesome, though.
Also, that web, like
Is that what
that
Vincent
spider
Price
is on like the hardcore like muscle builder stuff. I mean, the thickness of that web, holy shit!
Yeah, that thing's
Spider
jacked.
takes his vitamins.
It's jacked.
He's roided out.
all right,
Wait a
what
second.
about you,
Cocaine
Jim?
Bear,
Which
Crack
one you
Coon.
prefer, the original or the remake?
So I grew up on the original actually, and its sequel. And honestly, to see Vincent Price playing kind of the not creepy guy is such a weird place. I think this is one of his first movies. I think, but I genuinely love this movie because it's one I grew up with. But there is, like everybody else has said, the visceral nature of Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. My God, I mean, I don't think. There is nothing to this day that can match that for just that just body horror. And it is a more personal story. You do get to know the characters more. There's not an annoying kid that rivals any of the Bobs from Giallo, you know?
Yeah,
That's a
'cause
very good point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
also, how many times do you get to see a man-fly hybrid get to be crushed by a press? I mean,
It's
Yeah,
pretty,
'cause
that is
that-
a fair point.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I really appreciate. David Cronenberg's version of The Fly, he did his own spin on it, and he just basically just talked about Jeff Goldblum's character, and that was basically it. And of course, then we get Brundlefly toward the end of it too. But basically, hey, Brad.
What's up, Brad?
But basically, we get this, you know, he really did a good job. And that's one thing I always appreciate with remakes is that you pay a little homage to the original, but you tell your own story. You don't try to copy anything. I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of people really enjoyed his version of The Fly. You know, and the sequel is pretty good.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Somebody.
I like The Fly too, honestly. That movie's underappreciated in my opinion.
Moppy.
Yeah, the
dog.
Yeah, also the dog traumatized so many people. If you
Oh.
want to talk about
Yeah.
anything.
All right, so let's go on to the next one, which a lot of people probably will not know that The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, is a remake from the 1951 film A Thing from Another World. So we're going to talk about that. Now, of course, I always have to ask this question. First, I'm going to start with you, Chris. Have you seen A Thing from Another World?
No, that's one I haven't seen.
I couldn't hear him.
A lot of
Did
people
you hear
have.
him?
He said
Yeah.
that's one he hasn't seen.
Oh, okay. That's one he hasn't seen. Yes, because I think James Arness. He's the one in that one. I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
he plays
I
the
bel-
creature.
Yeah, he plays the
Uh,
creature.
Yeah.
Howard Hawks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's still a really bad delay.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
got.
I think there is.
On the chat, we have Tommy Lee Jones going for the original.
Yeah, he's going for the original. Yeah. 'Cause-
That's an interesting take.
That's a very uncommon take. Okay.
It does have a lot of good though, like the fact that for the time you get all those kind of B movies, but the ones that rise above like this and The Fly, you respect the hell out of them because of what they did at the time. And
Mhm.
I like the beginning when they find, we found the flying saucer. And they blow it, they blow the whole thing up.
and they used a lot of shadow, like, and I know that was partially because of the time, and not to jump out of line, but like the fact that they did that effect and they used it to great. I thought they used it to great effect the way because it's like the more that you can keep those things in shadows, especially in that time and place, the better you can do. So
Yeah, because
True.
Dan does make an interesting point because that's one of the reasons I like Thing from Another World because it was so atmospheric. You didn't, you really didn't have the practical effects then, even though I thought they did a pretty good job in creating the makeup effects. James, because you didn't even recognize him because he was a very well-known actor at the time.
He was in Gunsmoke, right?
He was Gunsmoke, yeah.
Yeah.
It was Gunsmoke, yeah. Because the only reason why I know about the film is because my mother had told me about he was starring in this horror movie. She thought I would like to see it. I said, sure. And of course, yeah. So little different aspect because I'm not mistaken. This is based upon a novel. Am I right, Marty?
Yeah. So
Who goes there?
Yep.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
John W.C. Campbell novel. Now, here's the thing: the novel is actually Carpenter's version is more closer to the novel because it's a shapeshifter in the novel. But you know what? I am going to give the 82 movie a kind of higher score because obviously Rob Bottin's visual effects and that it's closer to the novel. But I will give the original one trump card because Dan O'Bannon, when he wrote Alien, the idea of the motion trackers, that came from Tin from Another World. Because when they're going through the compound with the Geiger counter.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. So that was a big influence on the scene in Alien with the motion tracker. Look, it's as Triv said, that came out in the 50s and there was an absolute flake of B movies out around the time. There was an absolute horde of them. But this one actually stood above the rest. And again, I don't think it's better than the remake, but it still stands the test of time. And I'm gonna give it to the remake because of Bottin's effects, the actors, the characters, and because it's closer to the John W. Campbell novel. But that's not to take away from how fantastic the original Howard Hawks flick is.
Oh yeah, because you got a lot of decent actors in the original film, but when you take a look at Rob Bottin's his practical effects, you have all the Kurt Russell and John Carpenter's direction, and of course that theme music that he uses. I think that's one of the reasons. Yeah, no, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, Jen Christian. Which one
Do you want to take it, or do you want me to get this?
You start.
Okay,
You start.
I'm gonna out myself in a big way, and I hope my boyfriend doesn't leave me for this. Notice I never say much when we're talking about John Carpenter's or the original Thing, and the reason is I'm not the biggest fan of either. I can appreciate these are movies I appreciate way more than I personally enjoy. They're a little too on the sci-fi. Don't hate me, guys.
Oh, yeah.
We know you're not a big sci-fi fan.
I think it's a fucking masterpiece. Yeah, and I'm not, and I get that a lot of people really love these. Like Christian is going to have a very different take, but I'm going to be honest, and hopefully no one's going to hate my guts. But these don't do much for me. I can appreciate them, but neither one. I can take aspects of both movies.
If you had to choose one over the other,
probably the Carpenter, because I saw the Carpenter first and stuff. But I can appreciate like Christian, like Mark. I'm getting my son and my lover confused.
That's concerning.
Very concerning. I would say probably.
Jesus Christ.
We love you, Marty.
But I think I would go just because I saw the Carpenter first. But I do have, as I've gotten older,
I can totally see that.
We've lost all these people watching. You talk before I get Monty's channel taken down.
For me, the thing is, arguably, it's just between this and Mouth of Madness for my favorite Carpenter. But it's one of my favorite movies, and it's one, along with American Werewolf, it was the movie that really shaped me into my horror fandom. Because I grew up actually seeing the original Thing from Another World with like TC Turner Classic Movies, and the local cable channels would play it all fairly freaking. I was like, okay, this is cool and stuff. And then I found out, I believe it's Graham who showed me, it's like, hey, there's a remake of this from the 80s, and it's like way different. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like the original, but different. And oh, hey, it's got Snake Plissken in it. And oh my God, a dog's head just split open. What the fuck's going on? It's not that scary. Oh my God, Wilfred Brimley's stomach just ate someone, or someone's stomach.
Damn diabetes.
Brimley to correct that. Yeah, the damn diabetes. Blood starts
The Tin just wanted Quaker's Oats.
There's always,
Oh my God, that man's head became a spider.
oh my God, really the spider head, even though I hate spiders, the spider head never got me. But no, like, and then the Bloods test scene, and like there's all kinds of these moments that just stick out in my mind of being like a very young horror fan and getting into this stuff. So Carpenter's Thing will always have a super strong nostalgia sense for me and place in my heart for it. So of course I'm going to give it that one. I do still appreciate the Hawks film. I do find as I've gotten older, I find myself kind of getting more and more disinterested with the Hawks film, just due to the original, as well as Marty alluded to, actually reading the proper novel of Who Goes There and appreciating the stuff from that too. But I do still appreciate the Hawks film, but easily, absolutely going to the original to the Carpenter remake.
Good take.
All right, what about you, Sean?
Also, I kind of don't hate Thing 2011. Kill me in the comments. I don't hate Thing 2011.
Yeah, no, I actually do not hate 2011. I just hate the fact that they use CGI effects towards the end of the film when they should have went practical. I mean, come on now, it worked.
It's the CG.
It worked. It worked in '82. Why can't you do practical effects now? I mean, that kind of ruined the whole movie. Because I really thought everyone did a good job in 2011, except for that CGI crap.
Do you want to know what the real kick in the balls was? They actually designed the last form of the Tin in the 2011 in the 2011 movie was based on the description from John W. Campbell's novel of this three-eyed, silver blue-skinned kind of creature that Mary Elizabeth Winstead was going to fight, and they covered it up with that weird Tetris effect. It was in a cryopod, and they covered it up with the fucking Tetris effect and that other horrible effect.
That's why I'm saying, wait a minute, where does this Tetra crap come from?
It was the 2000s. It's what they did.
Studio meddling just ruined that movie because, like, it was all practical. Like, the effects were done, and then they just washed over them with really cheap CG and kind of ruined everything.
Yeah. Because that never happens otherwise. Holy shit.
It's not as bad as far as prequels go.
I tell you what. If I didn't look this way all the time, I tell you, I'd be pissed.
You're sexy no matter which way you are.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Now, I'm not a big remake guy, but this is the second one. Now I'm gonna have to go the remake. Like, it's like you just gotta give it to the Carpenter version. I mean, it's scary. It's got great suspense. I mean, you can't beat that blood test scene as far as suspense goes. Like, the tension is like unbelievable, and that doesn't even involve special. It's just a simple special effect anyway. But the build up to it is like amazing, and you got an excellent cast too. You know, Wilford Brimley, Kurt Russell. You know, great. You know, Keith David does a great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the best practical effects ever. They get just like The Fly. You know.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. Like it's just insane. All the different, like you said, the spider head thing, all these different creatures, you know, the dog splitting the head open, and then the huge monster at the end is insane too. You know, when it busts through the floor, you're like, holy crap! Look at this thing.
Hmm. Yeah, because I know the audience, when I went to see in the theaters, and the audience was just, everyone was creeping out, especially when the dog burst open. They didn't know what the world was going on.
I know I did.
How old were you?
I was probably like 5 or something. I was probably like 5. I liked it.
You
Mildly
let your
traumatized,
5-year-old
but I
son
liked
see
it.
a movie like
Hello,
that,
child
It wasn't
Jim.
that
services.
scary.
Child services. Hello.
What about when that one dog like splits his mouth open and it's shooting out the stuff like Mothra or something like on the other dogs? like what is that?
Territory.
I mean, really, it really started with you because you were watching like Cannibal Holocaust and stuff at that age when you were a kid. So, like, if anyone should be called on, it should
Ronnie,
be
what's
your
that child
parents who
services
has
number
child
again?
services.
I don't know. I'll have to find it if I'm fucking hitching up with this one. Aye.
Oh boy. All right, so here we go. We got another good one coming up right now. We have Invasion of the Body Snatchers from '56 versus the '78 version. So Sean, you say you actually saw the original just a few last time? Was that or another movie that you just saw? The original movie.
Oh no, that was the thing from another world I watched the other night. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, I have to ask. You did see the original of Invasion of the Body Snatchers in '56?
Yeah, of course. I love it.
I see. All right, which one do you prefer, the original or the remake?
Oh man, that is tough. They're both great, you know. Some of the best sci-fi horror movies of all time. Because the only thing that I think gives the edge to the remake, I think, is a little bit scarier. And I just like what they did, how they made. I felt like in the original, the pod people weren't like emotionless enough. You know, I think they did a much better job in the remake with that. They were just totally nothing, you know, just completely emotionless, you know, and that made it so creepy. And excellent practical effects in the remake as well too.
Mm-hmm.
And again, great cast. Donald Sutherland. You got Leonard Nimoy in there from Star Trek. You got Jeff Goldblum. Excellent cast. Great acting.
Yep.
It's just a little bit better. I gotta go with the remake the third time.
Which one are you talking about? You
Fake
talking about
originals fan. You're a fake originals fan.
you're not talking about the one with Nicole Kidman, are you? Called The Invasion?
No, I don't even. It never even happened.
That's the fourth one.
I don't even know what
Am
you're
I the
talking
only one who
about,
remembers
Monty.
Body Snatchers from the 90s?
Oh yeah, I was going to bring that up, but I thought you was actually talking about
Oh
that.
yeah, that was another one with Donald Sutherland,
Gabrielle.
right?
I think it was Gabrielle Amar. She starred in that one called that was just called The Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was
It was
okay.
fine. It was fine. It's probably like.
It was okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
But the remake of Invasion of the Bias is one of my favorite movies. Period. Like.
Chris, have you seen the original 1956 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
lose them?
I think there's just a really big delay.
Yeah, it must be a delay on his end.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The anticipation is killing me.
Just saying that Donald Sutherland class act, great ass. I never thought of that.
Well, you know what?
No,
You
no
aren't
more.
wrong. I mean, you know, between that and which one was it with Karen Allen? The was it? We played a professor, and he was having an affair with. Was it Animal
Yeah, I've
House?
seen
Animal House?
the original
Was it
on that one.
Yeah, it's Animal
Animal
House.
House.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt him. I apologize.
No, it looks like he's having Animal House. Looks like it was, according to Kurt.
A big delay.
No, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to.
No,
cut
it's
off
not your
Chris.
fault. It's a delay.
It's not your fault. He's got a
wasn't
big
your
delay
fault.
on. Yeah, well,
You get me talking about Donald Sutherland's ass back in the 70s, and I just can't help myself.
It's the whole new site PYTD we're seeing tonight. I'll tell you, that's fucking.
I forgot he was in Animal House.
Yeah, it wasn't a big part.
Mhm,
but,
yeah.
I mean, him in a cardigan.
Kevin Bacon
Yeah.
was in it too.
Funny.
Remember?
Yep.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Like, hit me again. Can I have another? Remember?
I have another.
I love Animal House. Bluto's speech. Did we give up when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No, leave him. He's on a roll.
He's on a roll. He's on a roll.
This is totally off subject, but there was a Facebook market post here. Someone recreated the Deathmobile from
Nice.
that, and they.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh.
So, Trev, which one do you prefer, the original or the remake for Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
That's so hard. You're picking like cream of the crop when it comes to 50s versus like the better of the remakes that they did. The original, I actually just watched it and before this, and I love the fact, like, even though it's aliens and stuff, it is so much of the communism aspect. But the thing that I love about like the best of these remakes is they take, and you guys have mentioned it too, but they take the best pieces from the original and they kind of flip it on its head for the remake. Like at the end of the original Invasion, they do kind of save the day, but obviously in this one, there's absolutely no redemption in the 70s one. Both of them, and again, I grew up on the original Invasion, but I think I got to go remake just because it's one of those handful of remakes that we've covered so far that are just so good. They take what was there and they elevate all of the right stuff. And it doesn't happen often, really.
What a great ending with that little glimmer of hope. She finds him and he's like, ah.
Yeah, exactly.
That was amazing.
Fuck your happy ending.
That's great when it comes to aliens. That's all there is to it.
Speaking of that,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Hey guys, you want to see a happy ending? Hey, you want to see this happy ending? Yeah, fuck you.
Whoa,
Fuck your
hold
happy
up.
ending.
We don't want
Everyone
to get
died.
Monty demonetized for showing happy endings.
Everyone dies.
I wonder if this is where I get it from.
If your doomer sensibilities truly root back to Invasion.
You might. It might.
My God, he's lost his
He is sexy
That's
though.
Awesome.
I
can
can
see
imagine, like, Donald Sutherland has a gorgeous singing voice. I would have not expected that.
all right, Marty, which do
Easy
you
on the
prefer,
eyes and
the
ears.
original or the remake?
I'm going to be a bit of a weirdo and actually go with the original. The remake is cool. Again, Veronica Cartwright can't catch a break when it comes to aliens. But as Triv pointed out, this was very much an analogy for the Red Scare, the McCarthy era Red Scare. So you had people who were like, "Hey, be careful! Your neighbor could be a communist. They're trying to destroy your way of life." And I think the best sci-fi and horror movies kind of they take they take the current kind of political and social aspects at the time and use them to enhance the story. And I think the original did that. Not to say you couldn't see parallels between the kind of AIDS crisis with the remake, but I think there's just something a lot more cerebral about the original. Sorry, I'm being a bit of a snob, but I still like the remake, but I gotta go with the original.
I mean, it's a great movie. It's not
Yeah.
not taking anything away.
Yeah.
It absolutely not.
Yeah, because for me, it's one of the reasons. Because I'll go with the original too, is because in the original, it's very atmospheric. You get some practical effects when it comes to the pods, but it's just at the time when this movie came out was, of course, with all the McCartney stuff going on, everyone accusing everyone of being a communist, and this is a prime example of, even though they're not communists, they're being taken over by pod people. But the fact that plays into the fear that they have in the countries, and they did a pretty good job on it, using very little practical effects. So I always got to give the original a little nod over the remake, even though I have no problem with the remake too. Yeah, you get some practical effects, because you actually get to see, them turning when they all go to sleep, and they both have the same kind of, almost the same kind of ending. Even though I thought seeing the guy running down the street yelling at everyone and that they're coming to get you, coming to get there, is almost just the same as effective as seeing Donald Sutherland going almost just like in the Body Snatchers. Everyone is pointing to each other, because like at the end of the Body Snatchers, little boy's throwing off the helicopter, and he's screaming
I would also add, so the way that they did the pod people effects in the 50s version, I was watching it and it kind of looked like the way it was kind of expanding. It's like, oh, hey, it's a blow-up doll.
Yeah. You're not wrong, though.
There is one cool moment that, like, if you're a kind of sci-fi fan, or you really appreciate it, because when Donald Sutherland destroys the pod of the homeless guy and the dog, and you see the juices from each pod mix, and then later on you see that fucking dog with the hobo's head, and they're like, oh, that's what happened.
All right, Jen Christian, which one did you like better, the original or the remake?
Okay, now I'm with a lot of the people on this panel tonight. I kind of have to give it to both. For me personally, I'm going to give it to the remake, because as anyone who knows me knows, I love it when we get a downer ending. That's just, I'm always, yay, death and destruction, and no one lives happily ever, yay! I'm always happy about those kind of things. But what I really have, this one's actually very nostalgic for me for many reasons, because when I saw the original first, but my parents used this as a teaching moment, little Jen.
To teach you about the McCarthy era?
Yes, this is how I learned about communism, and my parents sat me down and they're not serious. They did. They explained it to me and stuff. And so I kind of, that was like a movie, like, oh, movies can say a lot more deeper stuff than what it is. And then of course my mother being, you can take this for also just race relations and all kinds of things. And then what was interesting, flash forward to a couple of years ago, and I never took this until a couple of years ago. Christian and I were watching a documentary.
It was Queer for Fear.
Queer for Fear. And they said you could also take this movie for the pink scare.
The lavender scare.
Yeah, lavender scare. And I rewatched these movies after I saw that, because I'm like, I never noticed that before, and I'm like, oh my god, you can totally, after it was pointed out to me, you can totally see that,
because the lavender scare and the red scare kind of commingled with each other, because oh no, the communists are also going to turn your children gay.
Exactly. But I never saw it until it was pointed out.
It's not something that's talked about as much nowadays. It's more so focused on that, but that element is definitely there.
Yeah, but I'm gonna for just, we're talking about remakes, but for me, I'm with Triv, and I knew who Donald Sutherland was, because your Gramps' favorite movie is Animal House, so I'm like, oh good, the guy from Animal House is in this, and he was sexy. And then I also got got so made fun of because when I was a little kid, I would go on the playground and I'd go, let's play
Let's
this.
play Body Snatchers.
Yes, and I'd go, and none of the kids knew what the fuck I was talking about. Or I tried to do that. No one would play with me. So,
You know, that is
but the
one thing
remake,
about-
definitely but I do have an appreciation for the classic. Sorry,
Go ahead,
go ahead.
No. And I wasn't sure. I apologize. But I think too with any good like horror movie, if it was in the 50s or the 30s or the 2022s, a good horror movie can transcend and you can kind of pull out of it whatever you want in that respect. You can relate it to damn near anything in that respect because that is a lot of what it's about. It's about those fears, whether they be realistic or completely out of left field.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. Art's purpose is to hold a mirror up to society and show itself what the flaws of what's going on at the time, and a lot of great horror stuff really shows that. For me, this is actually really tough sitting here. I thought I was going to be a lock-in for the remake, and I think I'm still giving it the remake. But hearing people's arguments for the original, that movie is really damn excellent, and probably, I don't know if it's my full-on favorite, but it might be a strong contender for my favorite 50s sci-fi film. Like, that movie is really, really interesting and does a lot of really cool stuff. I think the only thing that does ultimately edge the remake over for me is just the excellent cast that the remake has. You got Donald Sutherland, Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy. There's just such a great cast all around. But the original film is still excellent and an absolute must-watch in my opinion.
Too happy though. Too happy.
Yes, too happy.
The one thing the 70s
It gives you a
lacked,
slight hint of hope for the future.
The 70s one lacked the long interludes of discussion where people could make out in the back seats of their Chevys at the drive-in.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. You know what? You're right. I'm switching my answer.
Yay.
All right. Now we're going for another 50s horror movie. Most of the early parts of these horror movies came out during the 50s. We have the Steve McQueen's 1958 The Blob versus Kevin Dillon's 1988 The Blob. All right. Puppy Chris, are you? Can you?
Hey,
hope it's not having
fellow
more
kids,
delays.
Steve McQueen.
You with this, Chris?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope there's not such a bad delay now, but
No,
this one, the original one, is pretty good. I like McQueen a lot. I have to give it to the remake, even though I don't like Matt Dillon very much, but I like everybody else in the remake. Just he's really wooden. I really don't care much for him. But the kids, I like them. I like the fact that they wasn't afraid to kill one of them.
Yep.
I like Swanee Smith or whatever her name is. And the guy that's the head of the hazmat team.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked him. He's a really good character actor.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he, gets his comeuppance at the end of that one. So I definitely have to go remake on this one as well.
good choice.
Okay.
Very good choice.
All right, Triv. Which one do you like, the original or the remake when it comes to The Blob?
Oh man, I love the 80s version. I think it's fantastic. It's got, like Chris said, it's got all of that amazing stuff. Like you take all the awesomeness and just squish it down into a piece of jelly, and it's all just there. And you can run your fingers through it, pop it like a pimple. Sorry, that's back to and once again. Sorry, not sure.
There's just right there.
But honestly, for as cheesy ass as the original is, it is so meta on itself. Like, it just does all those weird little bits, and I love so much about it. Like the fact that they can't refer to Steve McQueen as like you or hey or whatever. It's always Steve. What do we do? Oh my gosh, Steve, we must do this thing.
Steve.
And Exactly. And I adore the effects. I love what they do. And I like the way that they went about that. I have a deep love of the original for as stupid and goofy ass as it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Good choice too.
Yeah. All right, Sean, which one do you prefer, the original or the remake when it comes to the Blob?
Boy, Monty, you almost like rigged this one to like everyone you picked. All the rare cases where the remake is better.
I didn't make this. I just started writing this down when Jen asked me make a list. I said, let me get this list together. I got caught up doing work because I meant to do this earlier in the morning time before I started work, and then when I got caught up in work, and Jen told me, "Where's this list?" I said, "Oh shit, I gotta get this list together." Let's put this down. It's just no particular order. Just happened this way.
Yeah, but this is another case where, very similar to Invasion of the Body Snatcher, where I do love the original, and like Trib was saying, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think the effects are surprisingly pretty good, you know, in the original. Like, I'm like, how'd they make that thing? Like, it doesn't really look that cheesy, honestly. And I like that the cast plays it pretty straight. It's not like campy over the top acting, really. I think Steve McQueen does a good job, making it somewhat believable, you know. As believable as a giant thing of jelly could be. I love the scene in the movie theater when they're all that comes out of the wall. That's classic. But yeah, what does it for the remake, I think, is scarier, and the effects are phenomenal. Like some of the best special effects, practical effects ever. Can't say enough about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jen, Christian, which one you prefer better, the original or the remake when it comes to the Blob?
I'll let you take this one.
Okay, I'll start on here. Just gonna say it's the remake. I am low-key obsessed with the 80s Blob remake. It's in storage right now, but I have an original video store promo poster for this movie back when it was coming out on tape. I got it at a thrift store ages ago. So I love the hell out of this movie. It rivals The Thing in a lot of ways for me. There's so many great set pieces in this movie, from the scene with the waitress stuck in the phone booth to the ending with them freezing everything, to the really fun, like, kind of twist and spin on your expectations, where we start out with like this one dude who's like the Steve McQueen, you know, good-natured, good boy type who you think is going to be our lead, and then we kill him and we replace him with the 80s bad boy as our actual hero of the story. I always appreciate that little subversion right there. And as Moon said, I love the fact that this movie is not afraid to go really far and not just kill a kid. They fucking kill this kid This kid dies in agonizing pain, screaming for fucking bloody life.
You're a fucking monster.
Amazing. I love seeing it. Again, going back to last stream, fuck them kids. But like, I love the hell out of this one. But I'm always about fuck them kids. But I do still really like the original Blob for what it is. It's really fun. It has a lot of really fun it's a quintessential B movie, kind of. Like, it has so many fun elements to it. Like, yes, I love unendingly making fun of how do you do, fellow kid Steve McQueen. You know, is it hilarious that he's like about to escape from fucking Alcatraz, but also gonna go around and defeat the Blob as a teenage, as the oldest,
as a 34-year-old teenager.
Oh, come on, that's just how teenagers look back in the 50s.
As a fan of maybe, like, the Great Depression was a hell of a time. Like, we were just coming off of that. I guess they were just like, maybe the baby boomers are right. Maybe they were built different.
You know what? The booze was just stronger back then.
Probably. Yeah. But like, as a Power Rangers fan, man, I can ignore that shit. That shit don't bother me. Speaking of which, I also love that about the remake because Robert Axelrod, who fucking voiced Lord Zed, has a small part in the '80s Blob remake. I just really love the remake to death. It's really it very closely rivals The Thing for me for my love and infatuation for it. But I do still have an immense appreciation for that McQueen film. But it's got to be the remake for me. What about you?
For me, it's gonna be a fucking tie because I actually like both. Like, probably, I guess I'll give it to the remake by just a hair because, like, you know, it is kind of cool they kill a kid.
Fuck them kids.
Not fuck them kids. Never fuck them kids. But, like, it is kind of, I like that it's a little bit more hard edged. But I also have to agree with Sean. Like, the original, it is for the time, it's pretty cool. Like, you know, it's a good idea and it's not as cheesy as some of the others. And there's nothing wrong with cheesy. It's just this one's a little bit more straightforward for the premise and the time and the abilities. So I kind of have to respect that. And yeah, I like to give Steve McQueen shit too, but he's really good.
He's good. It's because it's Steve fucking McQueen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little weird, like what? But you know, whatever. But so I almost like I'm kind of torn with this one. I think I'll give it to the remake, but just by a cunt hair. You know what I mean? Just by a tiny little tear, because I have immense respect for the original. I almost want to, after hearing Sean, I almost want to give it to the original.
That's fair. Both are excellent.
So yeah, I guess I'll give it to the remake if anyone's keeping count, though.
Hell yeah.
All right. All right, Marty.
I'm going to go with the remake for two reasons. One, you've Frank Darabont doing a very fucking nice, tight script. And you also have Erica Eleniak meeting her end in a date rape mobile. I mean, seriously, it's just
date rape.
Don't do that.
No.
It goes to fucking places. And as the guys pointed out, no one is safe. Jeffrey DeMunn, you think is the sheriff? He's going to save the day. He gets iced. The kid gets iced. The nice kind of waitress who was flirting with Jeffrey DeMunn gets iced. No one is safe. Everyone is up for the fucking chopping block. Hell, you even have fucking Chop Top himself turning up in the fucking sewer having half his arm burnt off. So
you
come on, that's just a typical Saturday.
You can't even put your hand in the sink.
That's true though.
But I as campy and fun and as bizarre as a fucking 35-year-old fucking Steve McQueen teenager is, I'm going to go with the remake because it's awesome. It is kicks arse.
Yeah, because I would have to go with the remake too. As much as I enjoyed the original Blob and the fact that they were to pull off the practical effects in the 50s, it was still a nice film. And Steve McQueen, he was a good actor in that one as well. But the remake was so fascinating because when I said, wonder how they're going to pull this off, and how they pulled it off was fantastic with some CGI and some practical effects. It amazed me how they got that globalist mask. First of all, it moved fast. I thought that was a little difference as opposed to the original. And then, of course, they killed the kid. They said, wow, they actually killed the kid. You normally don't see that in horror films.
That's the best. He looks up the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, that scene in the movie theater where the guy's spoiling everything. And next thing you know, he said, you see this, they're going to do that next. Whomp. He pull him up. But I think one of the reasons why I like the original is because they actually put a twist in when we all thought it was an alien, but it was man-made.
Yeah, it was a probe. It was a virus put into a probe up in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really got to give the writers credit for doing that little twist in there. You know, and again, no problem. I actually like the fact that they instead of having a nice hero guy, they have a bad guy as a good guy in here.
Kind of like, COVID.
Oh.
All right.
Like Tripp said, you can read whatever if it's good enough to stand up.
All right.
It would have been more fun if COVID was a blob or something.
I don't know if I would agree with that.
Dan actually, he said he prefers the original just because he's more familiar with it. You never saw the? I'm pretty sure
That's
you
fair.
saw the Sorry,
You
pretty
can
sure
make
you
a
saw
good
the
argument
remake.
for either.
Yeah, but hey, look, all right. Right, look, and now we're out of the 50s now. All right, all right. Sean, this time we're going to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, obviously the 1974 film versus the 2003 remake.
While I do think that the remake was solid, there's no touching the original, in my opinion. This is an absolute 5-star masterpiece. I love this movie. It's scary as hell. It's raw. It's gritty. It's realistic. It's terrifying. I love it. Amazing characters.
Hold it.
Pay no
Let's
mind
give up.
to the man
Give up.
to the DVDs behind the curtain.
Toby Hooper's direction is fantastic. I love the fact that there's really not much of a score there. It's almost like noise that gets inside you. You know, it's really gets under your skin. It's just amazing. The shaky camcorder feel gives it that kind of realism. The kind of almost like bad production, but that adds to the realism of it. It's the original by a country mile for me. So.
Okay. Triv, which one do you prefer, the 74 original or the 2003 remake?
I gotta go the original. For a variety of reasons. One, just it's like Psycho. They managed to do like so much and make you think you saw all the blood and gore and guts when actually there really wasn't that much. I really and then I'm all for gore. I love that kind of stuff, but to be able to do it without, having that showing and leaving people going, "Oh my god, that was the most ridiculous and gory and terrible thing I've ever seen in my life. Ban it now." Like that whole mentality, I think is fantastic. And honestly, if you don't have Leatherface like whipping the chainsaw around his head like he just tossed off his thong and he don't care, I mean, what are you even doing? Sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't break Christian, did I?
You broke me. That one got me. God damn.
Yes,
Wonder
the
who thought of that, doing the little dance at the end he does. Like,
I know, yeah.
it's so
I
so
believe
classic.
I heard that it was Gunner's idea.
Yeah, it was
I could
Gunnar
be wrong,
Hansen.
but I always heard it was Gunner.
Yeah.
All right, Chris Full Moon, which one do you like better when it comes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original or the remake?
This one's tough. The remake is really good. It's really close. And it's probably my second favorite out of the entire franchise. But I have to go with the original on this one. I love the characters, the way that they're portrayed in this one. The way that you see when Gunnar Hansen, when they're leaving and he's sitting there looking at the camera, and it's like you can see that there's some mental issues there.
Yeah.
It's like all these people are invading his space, and he's just kind of, in his mind, it looks like he's just, they're coming to attack him more than he's attacking them in the beginning of it anyway. I love the humor in it, the way that it's subtle, and a lot of people miss it the first time. Some people miss it altogether, completely. But on rewatches, you see the fact that he subdues, that the cook subdues Sally by beating her with the bristle end of the broom, not the handle end. And she's just acting like she's being beaten to death, and it's just bristle. The comment about going back to turn the lights off, because the nickel and diming small businesses to death. Things like that just really set a tone of realism and surrealism at the same time. It's one of my favorite movies, especially from that era, because of the way that it just blends so well with reality and not reality at the same time. The way it just kind of exists in its own 1 degree off universe from the real world. So I have to go with the original on this one for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, Marty, which
Makes
one
some
you
great
prefer,
points.
the
Really
original
well
or the remake when it comes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I'm going to without a doubt, I'm going to go with the original. But that said, there are two things I like about the remake. First off, hands down, Early Army kicks arse.
Oh, yeah.
And the second thing is that scene where that poor girl blows the back of her fucking head out, and the camera just pans.
Oh, yeah.
You the hole in her head out the back of the van. I thought that was cool, but for the rest of that, it's just Platinum Dunes doing the same fucking shit, beat for beat. There is something discomforting about the original Texas Chainsaw, hands down. It has a very almost documentary feel to it, very guerrilla style filming, and as Moon pointed out, it's Leatherface isn't so much a villain as some poor child that was left at home on his own, and these fucking strangers are coming. And he's like, "The fuck am I supposed to do now?"
He's
like,
Kevin
imagine you were-
McAllister.
Yeah. Imagine you were like 6 years of
Leatherface
age.
is
And
home alone.
these dirty hippies start coming into your fucking house. You're like, "Fuck this shit." But yeah, no. All joking aside, it is like there's really kind of art house scenes in that. It's grim and gritty, but there's some really nice art house scenes. There's like a close up of a cobweb with kind of daddy long leg spiders on the porch.
Yeah.
And it lingers on that. And again, it's a very fucking disconcerting scene, and they're peppered throughout. But yeah, again, like as Christian, we were discussing about B movies the other night, and Christian said this is a B movie, and he's right. It's a B movie with kind of art house aspirations as well, and yeah, I gotta go with that one. I gotta go with the original Texas Chainsaw.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jen, Christian, which one you prefer, the original or the remake for Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I hazard to guess that I think everybody, including myself, are gonna pick the original. And just like Triv and Marty all pointed out, that yeah, this is like people. I love the fact that people think this is one of the goriest films of all time. That it's really not. But there are some scenes that, like, even though there's not any blood and gore, like that hook scene. That fucking hook scene gets me every time. Like, not just when I was a little kid. It's still now. It's like, God damn. That's a scene that makes you go, God damn. Whether
But you don't see shit.
You don't, but still, God damn.
Yeah.
And then, but this Chris pointed out, like, I also love that this is like one of the first films, like, oh, this is just smut. I mean, it's just a bunch of assholes with a chainsaw. No, it has a little depth and nuance, because we are dealing kind of with a special needs person, who had a real fucked up family. But in his mind, he's just defending his family, and in some of the other movies, kind of explore that he's being manipulated to some degrees by his family, and that's very interesting. Again, horror, when it's done well, you can go into a deeper level, and I love that. And fuck you all. This is where I'm taking the real hottest take. I like Franklin. Fuck you all. I think Franklin is a good character. I thought it was interesting and diverse, and fuck you all. And I also love John Larroquette, because I'm a big Night Court fan. Love John Larroquette doing the narration. But to talk about the remake is good. For me, it's Ari Army. That is why. That's what makes it for me. It's handled well. It's not a bad remake, but that is what makes it special for me. But it's special, but not the masterpiece that the original is. I mean, it's just, there's so much to talk about and unpack with this movie. You're gonna pick the remake? Just to be the contrary.
I mean, I really kind of want to now that everyone else has, but even I like Chainsaw. Chainsaw is my favorite of like the big four, even horror franchises of Halloween, Jason, and Freddy. Like Leatherface is my boy. I love Bubba. I love this franchise to death. And I'm that weird person that likes pretty much every single movie, minus maybe Netflix and 3D. But so I think the remake.
Do you think,
exceptional? I love Arlie Ermey's performance.
Oh God damn it!
God damn it, 3D. Why?
Even I wasn't here for that incest. Even I was like, no, this is one time we don't need it. Even me.
Even her. It's bad when even you don't want incest. But like Arlie Ermey,
that's Sam
killer
does like that aspect of a movie.
It really is.
What if
Arlie
the
Ermey,
incest was
killer
based
performance.
around Leatherface wearing a thong? Would that have changed?
Leatherface is a tramp and had it coming. I'm kidding.
So anyway, Arlie Ermey gives a really good performance in this movie. A killer performance. Such a bastard, and I love that. I actually like the whole family for this movie. They're not as like memorable or stand out nearly as much as the original crew or even some of the sequels, but they stand on their own and have a very strong feel to them. Like Marty said, one of my favorite shots from this entire franchise and scenes outright is the hitchhiker blowing her head out. Like that tracking shot is just gorgeous. I really also like the little subtle things. Like you have the whole thing of the one guy who's kind of an asshole and treats his girlfriend kind of shittily. But I like after he dies, you see Leatherface pick up a ring box and you find out he was going to propose to her when they got to the concert. That never comes up again. But I kind of like that little detail to give him a little bit of a character of like, yeah, he was an asshole, but he wasn't all bad. He did love her and stuff. I like that little stuff. But the original Chainsaw is just like a quintessential horror masterpiece in my opinion. However, how most other people consider hold up like the original Halloween is how I hold up Chainsaw. It's a genre defining masterpiece that reshaped horror in my opinion.
Also, not to cut you off,
No.
they also I think found footage should really thank, because even though this isn't found footage, it has
that documentary feel.
It
like
really does.
People said, it has that strong documentary feel. It feels, you feel grimy and dirty watching it, like you shouldn't be watching it. Like it's one of those like
it's like Maniac.
Like as much as like in the August Underground films tried to mimic a snuff film, this movie actually sort of does feel like a snuff film in a weird way.
Yes.
I love that about it. Like everything about it. And like Moon and you said, there is a lot of interesting like social commentary on the underline of this movie that not a lot of people talk about. Like you said with the mental handicaps elements of Leatherface.
And sexuality.
And sexuality. And sexual and gender fluidity, but also talking a little bit, like Moon said, of like how small businesses were kind of starting to get phased out during that point in the 70s, and we were going to start to see like the rise of the super mall or the mini mall and your Walmarts and stuff. Like you saw the rise of those, and smaller businesses and family-run businesses slowly starting to die off and having to literally like kill people in order to survive. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that this movie has. Plus, you have all the elements of like the backdrop of the Vietnam War just finishing up, and how everyone was traumatized from that, and that kind of impacts in the movie too. Like I adore the original TCM. I can talk about it for days on end. So I'm gonna have to give it to that. But I still think 2003 is an exceptional movie.
Yeah, just like to touch on what you're saying about even touching on technology, because it's like, oh, the gun's no good, the hitchhiker. Use the sledge, they died better that way. You know.
You know, this is when I come into play, when as a child growing up in the 70s and having seen I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes, and then comes Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All those films have one thing in common: very gritty, over-the-top violence. Nothing real scary, but very gritty, over-the-top violence. As much as I do appreciate what Toe Pooper did and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre did, but I have to go with Remake. It's more brutal. It's more violent.
You know what? I'm glad somebody did.
It's more brutal, it's more violent, and it's definitely more gory than the original one. And not to take anyway, I mean, you can't place Gunther in his performance. I will give the actor, I believe it's Andrew Burkowski, I think his name. I think he did a pretty good job in playing and playing Leatherface. But I think the main character I really do enjoy, of course, you can't forget the guy from Full Metal Jacket, the drill sergeant, R.E. Emery. Boy, he was great in this film. I think it's one of the reasons why I truly love the remake. Jessica Biel, she's great in her role in the film, and of course that actress, his name is Lauren German. She went on to go on to play in Chicago Fire and then on Lucifer as well. But that shot when she blows her head off, I thought that was fantastic because I was like, whoa, they're not mincing here. They're really going at it because that's a decent shot. Because I never seen
it's a great shot,
a tracking shot done on a gunshot to the head like that before. So I really have to I definitely got to go with the remake. Only, like I said, because of all the films I saw during the 70s, Texas Chainsaw Massacre to me is just one of those films that came out during the 70s where all the directors were trying to out violent themselves. Well, I can do this over the top violence. No, I can do this over the top violence. No, we're going to try that balance. Yeah, balance. And they did a pretty good job with all those films.
You know what? With that shot, all of her brains were living in a van down by the river.
As bad as the second one, Monty, as bad as the second one was, I do think it's saved by Arlie Ermy as well, the prequel. It's not great, but Ermy is brilliant in it. That's just the bit where he gets the shotgun off the dashboard and goes, "I'll just kill the entire goddamn police department." I love that fucking line. He's so proud of himself.
I will defend the beginning, but that's for another stream, I suppose. I think you're wrong about the beginning. That movie's slept on.
Now we're going to go with
That'll be an interesting one.
Now that we got one of the, he's not the big three, but he's from on my Mount Rushmore. I consider he's part of the Mount Rushmore when it comes to horror icons. But now we're actually going to talk about the big three. And we're going to start with Friday the 13th, obviously the original in 1980, and the remake from 2009. All right. This time, Marty, which would you prefer?
Okay, I'm going to have the shite kicked out of me. So, right, the original, the first one, had Pamela.
We'll be there with you in a minute, buddy.
Which is cool. Pamela was cool. And I do like the whodunit aspect. And I actually hated the remake to start off with. And then I watched it again and I was like, you know what? Survivalist Jason is actually pretty fucking kick-ass. Like, he's going around with a bow and arrow. He's doing the whole Rambo thing with the underground fucking tunnels. I just like Survivalist Jason. Now, it's still a shitty Platinum Dunes remake. Right, can I ask you something?
Wow!
Whoa!
Does anyone find the original a bit kind of slow in places, or is that just
not really? I never found it slow.
Yes,
absolutely, unequivocally, yes.
Yeah.
It's
not because I want to bang you, darling.
I love it, and as Christian says, it is one of the kind of the foundation stones of modern horror. But there's just something fucking badass about this. And again, he's not a zombie. He's not fucking brought back by the Necronomicon. He's not fucking the Toxic Avenger. It's just a fucked up dude living out in the woods in his fucking underground tunnels doing a John Rambo and picking off these annoying fucking teens. I actually like, and it took me a while, but I prefer the remake over the original. Sorry.
No worries.
Gasp.
All right. Full Moon, which would you prefer, the original or remake when it comes to Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th is my favorite of the big four franchises as a whole. And my favorite of this franchise is actually the first one. I'm one of the few people that really and truly loves the original Friday the 13th.
Nice.
I don't think the remake. I don't think the remake
We're
appreciates the original that much. I think it kind of loses the heart. It's too slick and too polished. The first three, especially, but the first two for sure, are very low budget, are very guerrilla filmmaking. Again, very reminiscent of TCM and of earlier movies, the 70s stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they really have that heart to them that the remake misses. I don't hate the remake by any means. It's middle of the pack for me for the franchise, but the original will always be my favorite. I saw it when I was 7 years old. It was probably one of the first horror movies that I watched and really watched as a horror movie. I think maybe the only one that I had seen before that was Jaws. So the first one really holds a special spot for me, and it is slow in places. I'll give you that, Marty. It is. They were trying really hard to build that same kind of tension that John Carpenter did with Halloween, and they just weren't that level. But honestly, the original is my favorite of the franchise, and I would have to pick it over the remake all the time. That's just that's the one that I
really
watch
good. You
the
know what?
most.
That's
That's
cool.
the one that
That is
I.
very cool.
Yeah, no, that's your choice. I'm like, no.
No worries. Yeah, I mean that's your choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right,
And you can
Sean.
really hear the
Which one?
passion
That's
when
me
you
on
go
that
You
down.
brought up a lot of really good points.
All right, Sean. Which one you prefer when it comes to Friday the 13th, the 1980 original or the 2009 remake?
I'm with you, Chris. My
Yeah.
favorite in the franchise. Well, I'm in the minority there, and I realize that, but I love the original film. It's one of the great slasher movies of all time. It's pure slasher, and it's really the film that blew the door wide open for the slashers to me. I know Halloween kind of set the standard, but I think Friday 13 blew it wide open, and then every movie after that was Friday 13 style, all about the body count and the but I love the atmosphere and as well. I think it's a scary film. I think the first two films, they actually cared about scaring you and having great atmosphere. Whereas once you get to like the third movie, we get into the camp territory now, I thought they were more serious, and yeah, I love the atmosphere. I love the direction, and I like how they did the kind of the point of view at the beginning, almost like Halloween with the through the killer's eyes. And I love the fact that it's a whodunit, and you don't know who it is till the end. And one of my favorite final acts in horror history, when it's revealed that the killer is the mother, just taking revenge on her child that was just left to die and drown in the lake, and she's taking her revenge is something really, I love that, and she does such a great job. Betsy Palmer, what a great performance. And she just off her freaking rocker,
Kill her, mommy.
I love it.
Kill her, mommy. All right, Jen and Christian. I know y'all been up there.
So who wants to get murdered first?
I think I'll go because
Nice.
and I'm not like
Hey, Scott.
Hey Scott, no disrespect to Chris or to Sean, and I can hear both of y'all's passion, and I can hear that this movie really means something to y'all. And like after American Wolf in London, Friday the 13th is where another thing that started off my horror journey. But even the original, I've always been a little bit bored. Now I will acknowledge some great things. Of course, Pamela is the best reason for the
Betsy
movie.
Palmer's great.
Yes, Pamela is amazing in this. I love her. Kill her, mommy. She's protecting her child. That's something I can get very behind. And also Crazy Ralph.
Crazy Ralph's great.
It's got a death curse. I mean,
It's got a death curse.
But Exactly. I like the ending. Like not just Pamela, but I do like the ending of what boy, you know.
The dream.
Yeah,
was it?
Yeah, or was it? I like all those aspects, but the rest of the movie up to getting there, for me, it's just a little slow. And what I love, I'm going to give it to the remake. And what I love about the remake is it's fun. It is much a popcorn film. And everybody, when that movie came out, I remember everybody fucking hated it. I went with a group of people and we went to see it in a drive-in and I was blown away. I thought, well, this is really fun. And everyone's like, that fucking sucked. And it's one of those ones that puzzled me. I never understood it. I think it's not a cash grab either. It's fun.
You can tell the love that, like, maybe I do agree with Moon that it doesn't have the admiration for the original, but it has love for the franchise in all of its incarnations.
Yes, and I don't feel it's a cash grab, and it's fun.
It as Christian was saying, it makes nods with like Sack Jason and the fucking sleeping bag kill and stuff like that. It there is a love and an appreciation for the franchise there.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Roy Burns, though, sadly.
No Roy Burns stand up.
No, where is my Roy Burns? But other than that, I've got to give it to, and it's not because Marty picked it or anything. I actually like I don't hate. It has its place, but but the original Friday the 13th, I appreciate and respect more than I want to watch. If I'm going to be honest with you guys. So now it's your turn.
I don't like the original Friday the 13th at all, guys. The stuff with the last 15 minutes are real fun. Everything else kind of just sucks, in my opinion, for me personally. Blows monkey balls, yeah.
Wow.
The main thing for me, and this is the thing that is the problem with a lot of like the slasher films that sort of came with this ilk, because I'm very picky when it comes to slashers. And the one thing that will ruin a slasher movie for me is if I don't like your cast of victims. I think this movie has one of the worst batch of characters in any slasher movie. They're all insufferable. Like,
I think it's the opposite.
Christian, I have to ask this question: which one has the worst characters, that or Scream, the original Scream?
Oh God! You know what? I actually would say this movie has a more insufferable cast, because at least Scream has Matthew Lillard, so that has that going for it. Whereas this movie, like Alice is a fine final girl.
Full Moon, just to let you know, Chris is our resident Scream hater.
Hi. I like 6. But
he did like 6.
This, like the original.
I know.
Yeah, I liked 6. 6 was fun. But like that cast is insufferable. I hate them all. It's
Moon and Sean's favorite.
I know. I don't mean to shoot. This is all just personal stuff. Like, no hate to you guys, because I do actually really agree with what Moon said. Of like, the original doesn't, or the remake doesn't have a ton of love and admiration for that first film. More so, it has love for the entire franchise. Like I was talking about earlier. Like, there's nods throughout. Yes. Everyone, like on the production side, like I don't know much about the actors, but everyone on the production side were really game and excited for this movie. The actor who played Jason was in character for the entire performance, and they had specially molded the mask so he could have earbuds in, so he was on loop listening to Man Behind the Mask by Alice Cooper on loop throughout that entire movie, just so he stayed in character. I really like how the remake just on the offset was like, okay, is Jason going to be supernatural, or are we going to make him a human guy? And if we make him a human guy, how does he teleport around the camp so quickly? And I think they came up with a really fun and creative explanation for that with all the tunnels and stuff.
Yeah.
I think this movie has some of the best kills of the franchise. The sleeping bag kill's great. The one rich douchebag who just gets hoisted on the truck as it's driving away. There's a lot of really fun kills in this movie. And I like how it kind of is. It's kind of a remake of not really the first film. It's a remake of the whole original trilogy, and then it spins off and does its own original idea from it. Like, it's more of it's almost similar to Evil Dead 2014 of like, it's a reimagining more so than it's a remake.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a good point.
Okay. All right, Triv, which one you prefer better? The 2018 remake of 2018 original or the? Are you hiding?
No,
No.
I can't remember. I know I've seen the original or the remake. I cannot remember watching the remake.
Oh man, I don't know if that's good or bad thing.
That's a really high mark of quality.
I was like, maybe she's hiding because she's afraid afraid what she's going to say.
Well, from that perspective, I can't comment on the remake because I can't pick it out of the rest of them, so I'm not gonna say one way or the other. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember seeing it. But you see so many, if it doesn't like
Stand out.
yeah, and I don't call that
That's
against
fair.
the movie.
Yeah.
That's me being a complete and utter idiot more than anything else.
Well, you're not an idiot. You just don't remember.
Oh,
But no, I really enjoy.
No, absolutely.
I love all this. Like I love the whole like the Mount Rushmore of slashers. I think that there's some fun kills in the original. The fact that they were able to build a franchise, and I know it wasn't obviously just off this one, but the fact that they managed to build a franchise off of like a mom taking revenge for her son and then building upon that into this gigantic ass franchise of guy in a hockey mask, I think that shows that you've got solid foundations, even if it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I love the kill that comes up through the mattress, like the one chick and the guy were getting it on the mattress, and all of a sudden, and he's got a machete coming through his chest, and it's like, hey, those mattresses are pretty thin. I think they need to be reconsidered, as far as what they use for camp mattresses. and
These are
just
health
that
concerns.
last, exactly, I mean, Jesus, put some metal plates underneath those things or something. and too, that last, and I know that it's in both, I think, but the fact that you get this, the person survives, and then Jason comes up out of nowhere and grabs her and pulls her under, and that just,
I love that.
yeah, the first time
Yeah,
you don't
everyone
expect
does.
that. Yeah, it's such a great moment, and yeah, anyway, that's kind of all I got. So, go away.
awesome.
Where you going?
Yeah.
Now she's sliding off the seat.
He's fading
I'm
into
picking
the
up
sunset.
popcorn. Yeah, I'm picking up popcorn.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
That's right. Must keep the theater clean.
ugh, good luck with that. But
There she goes. All right, Marty, which one do you prefer, the original or the remake when it comes to Friday the 13th?
Oh, you already asked me.
Oh, right, ask you. Okay. All right. I guess that leaves me
Yeah.
next. As much as I enjoyed the original, and I understand what Marty was saying about slower some parts, because I think when you look at it, obviously Steve Miner and I guess Sean S. Cunningham probably were trying to imitate some aspects of Halloween, but you did not have, the characters weren't that good, and you didn't have that, the setting was just not Halloween-esque. I think maybe because how John Carpenter paced the movie, and of course his music in Halloween made all that atmospheric, and you don't get that in the original. And I think that's the reason why you have slow parts when it comes to the original. That's why I always prefer the remake, because I thought the remake did a pretty good job in presenting Jason. Now, of course, they decided not to go the route of the original Friday the 13th. They decided to go on ahead, and put Jason in, but they combined the first two elements of Friday the 13th, 1, 2, and 3, and that's where you get this Friday the 13th. That's why you get Sackhead in the beginning, and then later on, then he gets the hockey mask. And I really did, and I also thought Derek Means did a fantastic job with portraying Jason. He's not superhuman. He's not a zombie. He's just an ordinary man. And I like the fact that they actually made it sense where he's in one spot and he's in another with the underground tunnels. It means that the writers did a pretty job of not making it, okay, he's here one moment and then next 2 seconds later he's up at the top of the mast killing this guy like he did in Jason Takes Manhattan. So that's the reason I always would prefer the remake over the original. Not saying that I didn't enjoy the original because I thought it fantastic. Seeing all the kills and of course seeing Jason come out the water, I thought that was a fantastic jump scare. But for me, I thought that the guys that did the remake did a great job, and I would prefer the remake over the original.
Very cool.
Did the remake somehow win that?
Split there.
God. No, it's 4-3. Remakes better, bitches.
It depends.
Okay, wait. Yeah, do we count as individual people or are we one Hive collective? I guess it's a tie.
Marty, do you have something against Platinum Dooms?
I'm going to turn.
They had moments, but their movies are just like, for the most part, carbon copies. Again, I like the remake of Friday the 13th. Still think it's a shit movie, but I enjoy it.
Wow.
So you're voting for the remake, but not enthusiastically, just because, I guess. I mean, I'd rather get kicked in
the only thing that
It's just better than the original, apparently.
The only thing it was missing, the only thing the remake was missing was Kevin Bacon's boner, which he was sporting for a majority.
Can't we say that about every movie?
Yes,
but
it
is
is
that about every Tremors sequel.
Could you do 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon's boner?
Suppose you could.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah. All right. I believe this one's probably going to be an easy one. Obviously, we're coming up now to Freddy when we have the original Nightmare on Elm Street of '84 versus the 2010 remake. All right, Chris, you're going to go first on this one.
Yeah, this is definitely the one that I would have to go with the original. Unlike a lot of people, I don't hate the remake. I don't think it's good, but I don't hate it. But the original Nightmare on Elm Street's a much better. It's just much better all around. It's Robert Englund's better. The direction's better. Heather Langenkamp. Johnny Depp, and the girl that plays Tina, I can never remember her name. They're all really good in it.
Amanda Weiss, I think that's what her name is.
Yeah. The guy that played Rod, I didn't think did a very good job, but 1 out of 4, not a bad rate. John Saxon's in it and does a fantastic job as always. The woman that played her mother is good in some scenes and not in others so much, but overall, again, that's still, 5 out of 7. The practical effects in it, with the exception of the arms, that's really not good. That one didn't hold up so well, but everything about the original on this one is so much better than the remake. So yeah, this is one that I will definitely have to go with the original on.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jen Christian, which one you prefer, the original or the remake when it comes to Freddy?
Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. A remake. I mean, not remake.
Yeah.
Damn it, sorry. No.
Moving on to me.
Nice woman.
She said it. We're moving on to me.
No backsies. No backsies.
No, the original, because it's the original. Like the remake, what I was gonna say, this is your fault somehow. The original, I will. Jackie Earl he's doing the best he can. Fuck you! I did not say the remake. God damn it!
Roll back that tape, there, audience.
There's gonna be something that haunts my life. God damn it!
You're defending that awfully hard that you didn't choose the remake. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That else protests too much.
Almost like your truth self came through for a second.
Don't be a Judas, Strip. Don't be a Judas. No,
I'm sorry.
Jackie Earle Haley is really good. Like he's trying, and it would have been cool had they actually gone and done what they were gonna do, and then not take it back at the last minute. Is he an actual pedophile? That would have been cool, but they take it back, so that makes it suck. You can't. Wes Craven's original is just a masterpiece. Go on.
So I wasn't I wasn't able to be on when you guys did the Elm Streets thing. So I've been saving this for 3 months now.
Oh God.
I think the Elm Street remake is really underappreciated. Jackie Earle Haley does a really good job. The kills are pretty imaginative and unique, I think. I like the weird CG. I can't keep this bit going on any longer. Okay, genuinely though, the remake has so much squandered potential.
Yeah.
This movie could have been really interesting and unique. Like, yeah, the CG is a big problem, but where this movie really fails, in my opinion, is its story and its writing constraints. I like the idea. It wasn't exactly handled the best, but I like the idea of, wait, what if Freddy was innocent? That's a really cool idea. But then the movie plays around with that for maybe 5 minutes and then backtracks and goes, oh, no, he wasn't. Don't worry about that, audience. We just wasted your time with that little red herring there. I liked that idea, though. That was a good core idea. They just kind of squandered it. And that's a good way to surmise everything about this movie. There's some okay ideas. Jackie Earle Haley, while he's never going to replace England, he does a very good job in the role, honestly. The design's kind of fucking ugly as shit, but it's not terrible. The kills are copy and paste of the original, but worse. They're basically like, honey, we have Tina's death at home. You know,
we have money now, so let's not. And
it's the thing. 2011, basically. Yeah. We took really cool and simple effects that were done on the cheap with the original and made them look awful with really cheap CG. Because cheap effects, as opposed to cheap CG, the cheap CG is always going to look worse. The eye can always tell, even with good stuff. And man, was that not good stuff with the kills in this movie? And you can really tell. No one wants to be here except Jackie Earle Haley. No one cares. All of these actors are ironically sleepwalking.
Especially the lead, Nancy.
Yeah, Rooney Mara.
Yeah, Rooney Mara. Like, I believe she even has said as much that she didn't really care about this. This was just a paycheck for her. Whereas the original is a fucking great film. It's not my favorite of Craven's films, but it's a really excellent film and a very important genre shifting thing that really kind of evolved the slasher genre further from what like a serial killer at a camp can be, and kind of get into a little bit more heady and supernatural elements to the slasher genre that we would see unfold for the rest of the decade. Unequivocally, it's the original, but man, that remake almost could have been good if they actually cared, but they didn't.
No.
But you're the biggest fan.
Fuck you.
You're everyone remember, Jen's Reviews from the Grave, #1 Elm Street remake fan.
Fuck you all. I'm tired of it. We don't have
I mean, if you really insist upon that.
Yeah. Whatever you say, honey. Whatever you say.
Triv, it's over now. Triv, it's over.
Did you just virtually break up with Triv?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh. All right, Triv. Which one do you just
been a real
picking up popcorn again?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I think I was a big fan of Jackie Earle Haley in what is the hell? The Zack Snyder Watchmen. Thank you.
Watchmen.
Yeah, Watchmen, yes.
He was so good in that, and when I saw that, I was so excited to see what he would do with Freddy. Now, obviously, as you guys have said, he's no Robert Englund, and there's absolutely no way he's ever going to be. But he did his own thing, and I was so looking forward to seeing what he would do. And he did what he could, but there just wasn't anything to work with. I mean, he was trying to make a 7-course meal with like a potato and like a little bit of like mouthwash or something. You know, he tried. He gave it his all.
Tried.
But yeah, no, I appreciate the fact that it is such an iconic, or Freddy is such an iconic character, to try and take that and turn it into your own thing while maintaining the integrity of the original. That is a hard row to hoe, and he hoed his row the best he could, but he couldn't hoe that row as much as it needed to be hoed. So no, absolutely, the original is friggin' fantastic. It is. I love Freddy. He's my favorite of all of the Mount Rushmore dudes, and he is so good in this, menacing and funny, and just walks that line that almost it's fantastic. You can't beat it.
Mhm.
Johnny Depp's death was like everything I needed. And I feel bad because so many remakes, and this is more of a general statement, but they fall into that place of that they forget what makes the original good. It wasn't just the fact that they were campy kills and stuff, and even like look at bad movies. There's like the original Birdemic. What made that good was not random walking and bad CGI. It's the fact that it was unaware that it was doing it, and they were aware of that with this, and they were trying. They looked at it from the wrong perspective, and that really killed it, and not in a good way. No bacon, no Kevin Bacon boners.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, Marty, which do you prefer, the original or the remake when it comes to Freddy?
I'm definitely going to go with the original. Christian kind of made a lot of points. I'm going to make it. The problem with the remake is it committed the cardinal sin of being boring.
Yep.
It backtracked on what could have been really interesting with fucking Freddy actually being innocent. Jackie Hurley, whatever the fuck. Good actor. I don't care how realistic the makeup was, though. He looked like a fucking turtle.
Yes.
He did.
He does.
He looked like a fucking turtle. None of the cast wanted to be there. Ironically, this movie would have been a perfect weapon for Freddy, as it nearly put me to sleep on multiple fucking occasions. Yeah, you can't beat it. Like again, I'm probably going to get fucking lambasted as well, guys. I appreciate the original. Not my favorite movie. I have a lot of issues with it. But England saves it, and it's imaginative, and definitely not as boring as that fucking disaster that was the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street.
All right, Sean, which will you prefer when it comes to Freddy, the original or the remake?
Well, the original all day. One of my favorite horror films of all time. I love it. Every time I watch it, I appreciate it more and more. I love the score is incredible, which really adds to the mood, and the atmosphere is fantastic. The direction from Wes Craven is great. I mean, what more can you say about Robert Englund's performance? Is absolutely iconic. And I love how, in the original, they keep him kind of in the background a lot, and that makes it scarier, but when he does come out, it's really like, wow.
This is God.
Yes. But he still has some classic lines, and I love his makeup job, and it's got some great practical effects in there. And it's actually scary, I will say that I do like Jackie Earle Haley. I think he gave it his all. He tried to put his own little spin on the character, but like Marty said, the makeup is just hideous. It's horrible, and that ruins his performance.
Yep.
And he is probably the only one that cared in the whole movie. The cast is just cashing a check. It's just like a soulless remake to me. I did think it was interesting to kind of make it. Oh, is he a pedophile? That kind of gave it a little bit of an interesting twist on it, where they never actually came out with that in the original series, but I was like, ooh. Yeah. But they didn't really play on that enough. I don't think they should have went all the way with it, and you really got to kill this guy, But yeah, the original all day.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that we all chose the original, and I was very disappointed with the
Not
remake
everyone.
because
Shut up!
Not everyone did.
Fire him, Sean! Fire him!
Love you, honey.
because I was interested to see what they were going to do with the remake, and I really thought Jackie Earle, he really did a good job. He put his own spin on it. He didn't try to imitate what Robert had done with the role. Unfortunately, the makeup effects that they put on him, they really tried to make him look like a burnt victim, and unfortunately, they did it. They came out very bad. So that's why it loses the effects. Although I did love one part of the aspect of the film was the micro naps. I actually thought that was decent, and that was one of the few best parts of the film that I enjoyed was the micro naps. I thought that was decent, but unfortunately, when you have an actress that didn't want to be in the film, and she's your main star, and you get nothing from her, so that ruins that aspect of the film. And
Mhm.
you actually have some pretty good young cast in there. You had Katie Cassie; she was in this particular film, but I think she was kind of wasted because she doesn't bring anything to the role. And of course, like I said, they just did a poor job. And of course, the worst part of it is when they actually had something decent where they could have made Freddie just an innocent guy. But if they would have stuck with that, they actually would have brought the film up even more. I was like, wow, that's decent. That's something different. Why couldn't they
Mhm.
just continue with
Yeah.
that? But no, they ruined it. That's what happens when you have the studios and the writers decide to not do anything different and change Freddie's whole aspect of who he is, that he was just an innocent guy, and just go back to what he is, and ruin the whole movie. Yeah, so definitely the original for me when it comes to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Very cool.
We're getting close. All right, this time it's Sean's favorite series, as we're going to go with John Carpenter's 1979 Halloween
Oh,
with
God.
Rob Zombie's Halloween. So Sean,
Oh.
you get to go first on this one.
uh, this is the one that kind of gets on my nerves.
Oh God!
Oh,
No, I'll be
no.
honest, I'm not gonna completely dump on this movie, but it's kind of half and half for me. I like a lot of things and I don't like a lot of things. So all together it's like 50-50. Like I can appreciate that Rob Zombie wanted to make a more brutal, visceral, violent film. And he certainly does that. And he did and I give him credit for kind of making Michael scary again, because at that point he had in Resurrection, H2O was kind of making him less and less scary, This brought him back to this brute, like made him like a brute monster, almost. So I like that part of it. And I actually did like what they did at the beginning, showing his childhood and his backstory there. I thought it was something different. But yeah, it can't hold a candle in any way, shape, or form to this masterpiece right here, which is my favorite horror film of all time. I love everything about it. I love the suspense is unmatched. I love all the characters. I love the simple story of this man who's stalking a babysitter. It's something so simple but so like realistic. It's like your worst nightmares. I love Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. I love Donald Pleasance as freaking phenomenal as Dr. Loomis. You just can't beat it. The amazing score done by the director himself. How cool is that? Everything about it is amazing. It's incredible. Halloween 1978, in case you didn't guess that.
Okay. All right, Chris,
You make
which
some
one?
good points, Sean. You really do.
Yeah. All right, Chris, which do you prefer when it comes to the Halloween franchises? John Carpenter's or Rob Zombie's?
It's gonna be Carpenter on this one. I love Rob Zombies. I think the second half of it is great. I really like the way that they turned that part of it up. The beginning of it, I don't like at all. The middle part of it, I kind of wish there was more of. I wish they had just kind of started with the same way that Carpenter started with the murder of the sister, and then he could have expanded the part with the kid in the asylum, because I enjoyed that. I wanted more of that. The end of it is good. I like the way that he turned up the intensity, like I said, but I don't think I would have wanted more of that. You could have maybe shown some of the other stuff from the beginning as like flashbacks in it instead of putting it at the beginning. But Carpenter's original on this one, even though it's not my favorite of the big four franchises, this is not my favorite of the original on that. I really appreciate what Carpenter did. I like the way that it was simple and straightforward. I like the score. I like the cast of characters that he had. I love PJ Soul's character in the movie. For me, she's right up there with Laurie. A very, very close second. So I got to go with the original on this one. Just, if nothing else, the atmosphere. It is slow at times. The dramatic elements of it don't always build as much tension as they probably did for their time period. I think it's showing its age, but it's still my favorite of the Halloween franchise itself, and it's definitely a step above what Rob Zombie did with the remake.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, Marty had to go to sleep. He just sent me any mention, so he's, because he's in Ireland, so he had to go to sleep. So, all right. Triv, which one do you prefer, the John Carpenter's or Rob Zombies when it comes to Halloween?
I mean, in the grand scheme, neither one of them hold a candle to Season of the Witch, but
Hey, fucking man! Hey, fucking man, sister.
Hell yeah. But being that I am being tasked with choosing between these two, it definitely has to be the original for so many reasons. Just the work that went in behind it, like the fact that they kind of, like, to some extent pioneered Steadicam off of this. And I mean, it was something very, very unique for its time, and everything about it was kind of groundbreaking in so many different ways. I do appreciate Rob Zombie trying to do that thing that's being done a lot now and kind of giving like a character a why for why that stuff rolls. And I appreciated the fact that he tried. Because you can see that whole, it's more of a realistic story than Anakin becoming Darth Vader. Spoilers.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to kill that for you, but no, I
You mean Anakin's Vader?
No. It's actually Obi-Wan. I didn't.
Oh wait, you haven't got right. You don't know what you're talking.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry.
So you spoiled it for Jen.
Oh fuck.
Oh, no.
Well.
No, but I don't think. I mean, like I say, I think Rob Zombie does a lot of good stuff. I think most of what he did in this was him trying to think outside the box and do what worked with The Thing and Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Blob. It wasn't what it needed to be to light the fire. Now, maybe give it a few more years and it'll become a movie where people go, you know what? People have slept on this. It's a really good movie. It needs to be reconsidered. And I think that comes to a lot of movies, over the course of time. So, there's a lot to love, but yeah, the original head and shoulders and knees and toes, and another head, shoulders, knees and toes, and then 5 more heads and shoulders and like 6 knees and toes above the remake. And also Kevin Bacon boner.
Gotta throw in the bucket.
Oh,
Gotta throw that in.
Full moon, huh?
Boo, Moon. Boo, you.
Oh, is that why he left?
No, it's all good, Moon. No worries.
That's a good
Y'all
one.
know how much I hate that one.
I'm sorry. I meant no offense.
And you're wrong.
I'm not taking. Everybody has their own opinion, but that's just mine. I just
Yes.
absolutely hate Season of the Witch with a passion.
No, all good.
I'm with you, Moon.
You can
like,
have your opinion. It's the wrong opinion, but you can have it.
I'm with you, buddy. You remember I'm with you right now.
Well, you also like the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street more than the original, so you know.
Yeah, you're the Nightmare on Elm Street remake fan, so.
It's hot, damn it. Not the remake. Never
I mean,
mind.
You're right, Jackie Earl Haley was kind of sexy.
Fuck you all.
Jen, you are a sexy bitch, and we love you dearly, regardless.
Oh, thank you. I remember that in a minute when Monty asked me a question. Y'all remember this? We're all friends.
Absolutely.
All right, Jen Christian, which would you prefer, John Carpenter's or Rob Zombie when it comes to Halloween?
Well, like, this is a silly question. I mean, who in their right mind would say Rob Zombie's film over one of the most beloved and genre-defining masterpieces of horror history? And that's coming from somebody who isn't even a big Halloween fan. Like, can you think of anybody who would say they like the Rob Zombie one better?
All right, guys, hear me out. Listen to me carefully.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to and I'm sure Sean's not surprised. He's probably gonna fire me, but I gotta be honest. I'm gonna give it to Rob Zombie's remake. Now, I understand that is a very controversial pick, and I'm not doing this to be controversial. Funny, I have immense appreciation for John Carpenter, the original Halloween. I really do. But what I think, and I've thought this since that movie came out, Rob Zombie's Halloween came out, is everyone hates this movie, and I don't understand why. And I get, like, for me, one of the things I love is knowing a character's backstory. And I know the whole point of Halloween, it was supposed to, God damn it, Jennifer, you dummy, it was supposed to be ambiguous. I get that. But I like that we're going down this other path. And I like this white trash redneck family. And one of the things that I get really exasperated with people is, oh, Sherry Moon Zombie can't act. Watch Halloween again, guys, because she actually portrays, she's not a perfect mother. She's not fucking Donna Reed, but she's trying. She has a lot on her plate, and there are some scenes where she has some very tender moments with Michael where she goes, tomorrow was bad, today was bad, tomorrow's going to be better. I like that. And when she actually does what she does at the ending, it's very compelling, very heartfelt. I actually really like it, and I know I'm in the minority here, and I respect everyone else's opinion, but I got to stand up for it. I appreciate John Carpenter. It's a masterpiece. I'll tip my hat to it, but for wanting to watch a movie on rewatchability, it's Rob Zombie's. And I love Dr. Loomis. Like, he's one of my favorite horror characters, but I think Malcolm McDowell did a really good, like, he didn't top the original, he doesn't top Donald Pleasance at all, but there's something magical about his performance too. I like how he does his own thing while being respectful without copying and pasting it. I love Rob Zombie's Halloween. I know I'm gonna get murdered here, but I'm gonna be authentic. I fucking like I love Rob Zombie's Halloween. Should I turn in my papers now, Sean?
You don't cringe when he says, as a matter of fact, I do believe it was. Like,
actually, I actually love how he does.
You fucking bitch! I'm gonna skull fuck the shit out of you.
I love that. I love that scene, Sparky. I love that, and I know some people might. In Rob Zombie, you have to have a certain palate for it, and he works my palate. He does.
Well, that was sexual.
That's what Marty does, but movie-wise, and I'm not trying to be and I'm really not, I'm going to take a hot take just to take a hot take. I legitimately...
You always have.
Yeah, I've always, even before we started the channel, I can understand people getting frustrated with Rob Zombie, but there are some good things about this remake, too. You got to give me that.
There are. I'll give one right now. Scout Taylor Compton's a better Laurie Strode than Jamie Lee Curtis was until 2018. This might get me.
Sparky's thought.
Yeah, this is me. Okay, like, all jokes aside, I'm not the hottest about the zombie film. I'm kind of with Moon, actually. I actually really think where this movie shines is in the asylum with like kid Michael interacting with Dr. Loomis and his mom. Like I think those are
great
actually, I
scenes.
think those are probably the strongest moments of this movie. And if we would have gotten a bit more of that, I think the movie actually would have been really interesting to see. My issues do kind of come from the first half is a interesting idea, but it kind of drags and it is a little over the top and a bit much. And the second half is too much of a close remake to the original for me, really. Like it's kind of beat for beat. Like the only things it really has going for it is the slightly different version of Laurie as well as Annie, which I really like. And like you always point out, it is cool that he got Daniel Harris to play the role. Like that is really cool that he fought and got Daniel Harris for the role. That was a really cool thing of Zombie to do. And I really like Scout's version of Laurie Strode. I think she's a lot more interesting than Jamie Lee's was ever until like 2018 was the first time where she remotely rivaled Scout, because Scout actually has a lot of interesting character developments and pathos that are similar to what stuff that happens to Laurie in the original film, as well as a little bit of part two, but it's done in a lot more interesting of a way. Like you feel Scout's emotions a lot more. Like Laurie's Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie's kind of apathetic to a lot of this stuff, like, whereas Scout's a lot more like outbursty and like I'm gonna fucking kick your face in kind of thing. Like that's especially trauma response. And I like that. I'm still not voting for Rob Zombie's film, though. It's not the best. Like, there's some okay ideas, but even me, who is not, even me.
I'm sorry, Dan, but I'd rather watch Rob Zombie 2 than Halloween Resurrection. Sorry about that.
Second hot take to take. No, you're fine. Second hot take to take some heat off of her.
I'd rather watch Evil Bong than fucking Resurrection.
Oh, Evil Bong's not that bad.
Don't go dissing the Bong.
No, but that's what we're saying. I'd rather watch Evil Bong than Resurrection. And I actually like Evil Bong too.
Fair. Busta Rhymes Kung Fu kicking Michael was an inspired choice. Also, I know we're not talking about it, but like low key, I'm not the hottest about Rob Zombie 1. I do think Rob Zombie 2 is unequivocally better than John Carpenter Halloween 2. I low key really don't like John Carpenter 2 at all. I've grown to disdain for John Carpenter 2 over the years.
Wow.
All that being said, all the smearing I just did to John Carpenter, I am going to give it to the original 1978 Halloween. Whereas, while I'm not the biggest of Halloween fans, particularly Michael, and I do think some of the discussion around John Carpenter's film is slightly blown out of proportions for how influential it is, it's still an incredibly important and influential film that did shape horror in a major way. I just personally don't feel it's quite to my personal taste in horror, but it's still a great film. Whereas Rob Zombie's had some cool ideas. That's about it, though.
Yeah. I mean, what asshole would?
Yeah, what asshole would pick both? Who would pick both Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street remake? Who would do that? Who could possibly?
I didn't pick Elm Street.
Yes, you did. I'll roll back the tape.
Fuck you all.
Hey, can I line up first, Jen? if you're handing out fuckings?
Sure, why not? No, I'm mad at you. You'll have to wait your turn. I'm mad at you.
Shit.
Don't cut, Trev.
Aww. Monty, are you going to save me and say that you secretly are a Rob Zombie fan?
I like a lot of his stuff. I just, given the choice between the OG Halloween and his Halloween, I just like the original more.
I get what Rob Zombie was trying to do with his version, and I appreciate the first half of his version of Halloween because he actually tried to show what was Michael's childhood like, because we don't get that. We never actually got that in any of in John Carpenter's film. So I get what he was trying to do, and I appreciate those scenes. As a matter of fact, I actually thought, other than Baby, that's the best performance I've seen Cheryl Moon Zombie do. I thought she did a good job in portraying Michael's mother. But then we get to the adult Michael, and it's kind of like a shot for shot of the second half of Halloween, and that's where he lost me. And that's why I have to go back to the original when it comes to the Halloween franchise. I appreciate what Rob Zombie was trying to do, but for some reason, I don't know why, after he got make Michael an adult, and he went kind of for shot. Don't get and don't get me wrong. I like what Scott Taylor Compton did with Laurie. She put her own spin on with Laurie, and again, it was nice seeing Danielle Harris back in the franchise once again playing Anne's character. And I thought they did a pretty good job. But it's just like, why did you go back to doing a shot for? There's no need to do a shot for shot. You were doing good, and then you ruined it with the other half of the film.
Even a lot of the dialogue from the original.
Mm-hmm.
I've often suspected that might be partly due to the Weinsteins interfering, because
I've heard that it
I know
was.
they were easy on him for a while, and then they kind of started fucking him over once the productions got underway. So I almost wonder if that might have been him just giving up, because I know that was the case with 2.
Yeah. It does.
I buy a don't cuck Triv shirt. It's true. You don't want to cuck Triv. Very rude.
Sean, I'm not fired, am I? I know I ask you this a lot.
That's a good one, Dan. All right, Jen, you've been waiting for this one. I know you've been eating up your guts. I know you can't wait to go for this one because we're getting ready to talk about now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's Child's Play, the 1988 version versus Child's Play, the 2019 version.
Correct choice.
I'm
Has
pretty sure
nothing to do with the one. Has nothing to do with the other. Fuck that movie.
I am your buddy. You're my best friend.
Fuck you.
You are my buddy.
This is the only. Wait, sorry. This is the only choice. The only.
Sean was like, "Fuck this shit. I'm out."
I'm not going through this again. I've heard it so many times. The only correct choice is Don Mancini's. Don Mancini.
And Tom Holland.
And Tom Holland. And Don Mancini disowned it. They said, no, they came out and said, no, fuck you. Jennifer Tilly and Brad also did it on Twitter. That no, it's soulless, it's heartless, it's a corporate cash grab. It's everything wrong with remakes. This is a bad remake. I love Mark Hamill, but he did nothing with the voice. It's
This
a
is
fucking
for
soulless
Tupac.
cash grab. I fucking hate that fucking remake. It shouldn't even be called a remake. It's shit. It's just shit. The correct answer is the original all the way. Brad Dourif all the way, man. And his sexy, sexy voice.
Sean said his laptop died. He's booting up his other one, so he'll be back in.
Oh no. Oh no.
All right,
For
Christian.
me, only correct answer.
For me, I'm more of a Child's Play 2 Bride of Chucky girly. So like the original Child's Play is a movie I have a lot of fun with. It's a good time. It's a good template and base for what the franchise would become later on. But it's never been an all-time favorite of mine. If we're talking about first entries. The problem is I'm also not the hottest about the Child's Play remake either.
Well,
like,
yeah.
I like some of its ideas.
No, you
like,
don't.
The smart doll idea was kind of fun and unique current day spin on it. The explanation for why Chucky's evil was a little not thought out and a little overly simple of that classic Simpsons joke where it's just like, oh, here's your problem. You switch the doll to evil. Because that's basically what happens.
What fucking kid would want a doll at that age? I call bullshit. I call bullshit in the theater, and I call bullshit now.
I like both Aubrey Plaza as well as Andy's mom from the original. I think both of them do about comparable jobs, honestly. No. I like both of them. I like Andy's relationship with I forget if he's a cop or like a security officer, but his the cop that works that lives in the apartment building with him. I think their relationship actually not too bad. Yeah, I actually like that relationship added into it of like, instead of giving the mom the relationship with the cop, you give it to Andy. It gives it a little bit something kind of different. Mark Hamill is fun as Chucky. Is his performance as iconic as Brad Dourif?
No,
of course it's not. It's Brad Dourif. And well, yeah, Mark Hamill is a very, very delightful voice actor and the definitive Joker. He was sort of phoning it in just a tiny bit with this performance. He wasn't giving it his all. And it kind of does show throughout. The biggest problem with the Child's Play remake, in my opinion, does come down to that design is fucking awful. Who okayed that design? It is terrible. I did not need JJ the jet plane looking ass Chucky.
That's fantastic.
So
Oh my
I
God.
guess I guess I'll give it to the original, but I don't hate
Yes, you
Child's
do.
Play 2019. Honestly, I think it's pretty fine. It's pretty fine. I will say though, if you give the option, I am choosing Megan over over both films.
You.
I will.
Fuck you.
I am choosing Megan over both films though. Also, hi Hobbs.
Christian,
Hi, Hobbs.
appreciate
It's
the hell
fine.
out of you.
I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. Also, Chris Sedan is the hot cop. We all want to fuck Chris
Sedan,
Sedan.
it's really fun. Like I do like that cop, but I like the addition that the cop has with Andy in the remake. That was a fun idea.
But Chris Sedan.
Yeah, it's fine. The climax is a little weak, though. I will acknowledge that. Like, the climax is kind of weak. Like, you had the cool idea of, like, all the different Chucky dolls and, like, syncing up their Bluetooth, but kind of just doesn't really lead up to much of anything. It kind of is an anti-climax.
Like the whole movie.
It does have some cool kills, though. I really love her douchebag boyfriend's kill with, like, the lawn equipment. I think that's a fun kill.
Ugly doll. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
All right, Chris. Which would you prefer? You prefer the original Child's Play or the remake?
Neither. I've never been a fan of the original Child's Play, and I never saw the remake. So I'm gonna have to go on with this one to somebody else.
Oh wow!
That's just honest. That's what it is.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Hey, well, Dave, that's okay. Not a problem. All right, Triv.
I'm
Are you
curious,
going
though.
to
Real
make
quick,
Jen,
I'm
are you going to make
curious.
Jen happy or mad?
Go ahead. What was it, Christian?
I'm okay.
I was just going to ask Chris real quick. I'm curious. What is it about the original Child's Play you don't like, if you don't mind me asking? I'm just curious.
I don't know. It just that one never grabbed me. I liked the second one and I liked Bride, but none of the rest of the franchise I like at all. They're just kind of.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
I don't know. Part of it I felt for the kid with the way that everybody treats him in the original. I kind of feel like they crap on him a lot. And it just never really got me. I like the second one though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Most
right
people,
on.
that's their favorite.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a good
Okay,
one.
right on.
So, Triv, are you going to make Jen happy or mad?
Oh man, I will probably split the difference and leave everybody horny but angry. Wow, see? I'm a original fan of most things through and through, especially when you're talking practical effects. I don't think there's anything better, especially with the kind of things you'd have to pull with that Chucky doll. It's not like you're not dealing with a giant creature. You're dealing with a 2 foot tall doll or 3 foot tall doll. I appreciate a lot of what it did. I will say though, I enjoyed some of the modern references that they pulled that you couldn't have done with the original. With the Jesus, Dan, for fuck's sake. God damn it. But like the idea of Bluetooth and the idea of it spreading to to see it on a wider scale and to see kind of that mass production was kind of neat. But yeah, no, the original through and through is just fan-fucking-tastic. I don't think you can do better than that, really. I will say though, Megan was a super fun movie.
Hell yes.
See, you almost had me. If you just would have stopped right there and left
I
out the
can't.
Megan part. You
See, I
had
told
me
you,
back.
everybody's left horny but angry.
I'm just gonna pretend.
By
I didn't
God,
hear that
she's
part.
right.
Okay.
It's okay, Moon.
Okay. Well, Jen, first of all, I'm Team Megan.
Hell yes.
I know you are. I still love you, but I know you are.
As much as I enjoy Child's Play, I actually thought it was pretty decent to see that aspect of a horror movie where a serial killer transposes his spirit into a doll, and the doll kills everyone else. And I like that aspect. I really did enjoy Child's Play, but I really got to give Child's Play 2019 credit because a lot of people didn't want that film to be made. Yours, you yourself. A lot of people came up with "Not My Chucky," "Not My Chucky," hashtag "Not My Chucky." Everyone didn't like the fact that Brad Dourif was not going to be back as Chucky. Uh, Everyone was criticizing, "No way in the world you can make it," and it actually turned out to be a decent horror film. I really did appreciate what everyone did. I thought Archie Plaza and what was the kid's name? Gabriel Bateman. I
I
thought they were
believe so.
pretty good.
Yes.
I thought they did their performances very well. I love Brian Tree Henry. He was once again pretty good as well. Yeah, she had to go because she said she had to do another stream, so that's why she's gone. I really did appreciate everything what they did. Now, of course, the doll. The only thing I have to say against about the doll didn't look great. But I think what they tried to do, tried to make it not look like Chucky, because I think what the producers and the screenwriters all wanted to do was to make sure that this was no reference to the original Chucky. So I really
And
have
they
to give,
cheated.
so I really got to give everyone credit. I thought they did a pretty good film, and not criticizing the original Child's Play, but Child's Play is not one of my favorite franchises. Although I do like mostly all the films, I actually like Child's Play 2 better than the original. So for me,
So
I
does
have to
Chris.
go with the
Yeah.
remake. Because I thought
I still
Child's
love
Play
you.
2 Child's Play 2 was much better than the original Child's Play. But I really got to appreciate what they did in the remake. So I have to go with the remake when it comes to Child's Play.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay.
Fuck you!
Now just to piss you off, just so it means that technically it wins, even though we're not doing a score system, I'm changing my vote to the remake.
Fuck you.
Just fuck you, you Elm Street remake lover.
Oh, fuck you. This is never gonna not follow me
Nope,
now.
this is your new personality. I hate Scream. You love the Elm Street
God
remake.
damn it.
All right. For the last, Sean's coming back.
Oh
Okay.
boy.
I get it up on here. There
There he
it
is.
goes. There it is. All right. For the last of the list, we have running zombies versus slow zombies. So that means we have George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead from '78 versus Snack Cider's Dawn of the Dead in 2004. So Sean, what do you like better, running zombies or slow zombies?
I prefer the classic shambling zombie in the George Romero style. Something about how they can, corner you and surround you and take you out that way. I kind of like the fact that to me, it seems a little bit more realistic. If they're dead, that they're not going to move very quickly. If they just came out of the grave,
Agreed.
Yeah, I just feel it's scarier that way, honestly. But I know a lot of people prefer the running zombies, and to me, Dawn of the Dead, the original, is my favorite zombie movie of all time. I think it's just an epic. I love the mall setting. It's phenomenal. I love the humor in it too, as well. Like they're smashing each other in the face with pies and. I love the idea of the bikers coming in on their territory, trying to take over the mall, and they're driving them away. I love the characters. It's a great. I love the idea of a woman that is pregnant and she might have a baby in this horrible world that we're living in. Where the dead walk the earth and it's amazing. I love the original Dawn of the Dead, and but I do think that the remake was very solid. I love Zack Snyder's take on it. It's solid, He did do his own little stamp on it, and I like Vin Rames in there. He was really cool. I like how they were sending messages to each other, holding the signs up on the rooftops and stuff like that.
point.
It's definitely
Good point.
solid, but I definitely prefer the original.
Mhm. All right, Chris, which would you prefer, slow zombies or running zombies when it comes to Dawn of the Dead?
I'm 100% with Sean on this one. I like Zack Snyder's remake. I didn't think it was anything bad about it. I really liked Ving Rhames' character, and I liked the zombie baby. That was cool. But yeah, the original is my favorite of Romero's original trilogy. I like the setting. I like the characters. The zombie that gets the top of his head cut off with the helicopter blade is just a classic moment. Um, yeah, that one's a whole lot easier than the remake from the original. Um, that's a much closer one. This one right here is easily Dawn of the Dead from the original.
Okay. All right, Jen, Christian, which do you prefer, running zombies or slow zombies?
I gotta go with slow zombies as well. I do appreciate Zack Snyder's, mostly Vig Rhames. I mean, I'm always been a fan of him, but I like for the original. The reason why I like it so much is because the commentary on consumerism were set in a mall, and I like that hidden commentary of it. I really think that there was a lot. There was a lot more than just zombies.
Are you
being-
telling me George Romero was saying a political topic in his movie? I've never heard that one before.
Shocker, I know, but I really do. I mean, it's people say dumb zombie movies, but I really like that the consumer. I like that they were set in a mall, and some of the special effects. They might. I love them. I think special effects are amazing and stuff. Zack Snyder, I know you have feelings for him. Well, I'll let you, but for me, it was solid. But not as good as the original. My vote goes to the original all the way. And I'm not sucking up to Sean because of my problematic Halloween.
Your
take.
insolence.
My insolence. I generally think that the original is better.
I don't like the Snyder film at all.
You don't like Zack Snyder.
I just don't like Zack Snyder at all. I'm very much down for the gun DCU instead of what we had before. And speaking of gun, I think that the thing that people forget about is the stuff that really works about the Snyder Dawn of the Dead is all of James Gunn's writing that he did for the film. Actually, those are where the best ideas come from. And Ving Rhames does give a very good performance as a lead. He's not quite like Ken Foree levels.
No, but who is?
Yeah, but it's still good. Whereas like the original is like such. Like, it's classic Romero, like, through and fucking through.
Yeah.
Even more so than Night, I think. Like, well, Night is his most iconic and, like, the thing that made his face known. I feel like Dawn is just, like, quintessential classic Romero. You have, like, cast of characters, location. It's a very simple story, but there's also a lot of social and political commentary going on through the piece.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of really fun effects throughout the movie. Savini did a great job there. I know a lot of people find it weird. I like the weird blue zombies. It's a little weird thing, but I'm actually a fan. They have a charm. I'm kind of down for the weird little blue zombie guys. I think the cast of characters in the original are way more compelling and interesting than the remake.
Yeah.
The remake's cast are just kind of all miserable assholes that you just kind of are waiting to die, which those characters are there in the original, but there's a little bit of offset. You still care about some of the characters in that original film, whereas I don't really feel like that. I just like Ving Rhames because I like Ving Rhames the person, and I'm projecting. I don't really care that much about the character he's playing.
But he's good for what he's got to work with.
He's doing a good job. It just I don't care most about what's going on in Dawn of the Dead. It feels very 2004. It feels very much of the time it came out, whereas Dawn, well, yes, you could argue malls are non-existent basically at this point, but I still feel like at its core, Dawn of the Dead is still very timeless and holds up a lot better at its core, as opposed to the Snyder film, which feels very dated and of its time, honestly.
And as much as I appreciate Dawn of the Dead, it was a nice follow up from his Night of the Living Dead, and I thought it was a good follow up. Yeah, the guy with the getting his helicopter, head cut off with the helicopter. The wall setting was decent. You have some nice, decent characters. You see the gang bikers coming in, trying to take over, and then you get some nice practical effects. But for me, it's just running zombies. I just love running zombies. They present more of a threat. They're more scarier. The fact that obviously they're pumped up on adrenaline, so that's the reason why they're running, and they just present more of a threat. That's why I prefer the running zombies. I think mainly because of what 28 Days Later did for that movie. I think that's the reason why you saw the running zombies, even though those people were not zombies; they were just infected people. But I think that got the idea to create the running zombies, and I think that's the reason why I enjoy Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead better than I do George A. Morel's. Not taking away from that zombie movie because it's still a decent zombie movie, but for me, it's always going to be Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead because I just love running zombies. And yeah, some of the characters are not good. Ty Burrell, he's not a good character. Mikhail Pfeiffer, he's kind of a bit of a gangster. But I did enjoy what's his name? Sarah Polley. I liked her character. I like let's see, I love Jake Weber's character. I thought it had some nice characters in it, but most of the characters are not that good. But overall it's just mainly I just prefer the running zombies.
Fair.
I get that. A lot of people do.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay. All right. Well, that was the last movie that I had on my list right there. I don't know if y'all guys had anything else.
Do we want to talk about the Psycho, or is it even? Does anyone have any talk about the Psycho remake? Because that one, whenever people bring up remakes, Psycho's always a thing. And I know Sparky has a little bit of an interesting take on that one. You want to tell people about how you love and think it's superior to the original? Yes, this is payback.
Wow, fuck you. Help! I'm being held at gunpoint by a VHS copy of Verhoeven's Psycho. I think the Psycho remake gets a little too much shit. It was a pointless film that did not need to be made, but there's some interesting ideas it does. I don't think one dude was honestly that bad. Vince Vaughn was that bad of a choice because he's actually closer to Bates in the book's description as opposed to Perkin. It's just a lot of other stuff that holds that movie back. But I think there were some interesting ideas with the Psycho remake.
So you're saying you love it and think it's superior to the original Alfred
Hitchcock? Oh,
Hitchcock?
That's why we're doing this. It's not because you wanted to have a discussion about Psycho. You just wanted to fuck me over. Okay.
No.
Sure, yeah, I love the Psycho remake. It's better than the original in every way. Alfred Hitchcock is a hack.
No.
You're welcome. Is that what you wanted me to say?
No. I will have a serious one because while I don't go as far as you do, like, because you know how I feel about the Psycho movies in general.
It's your favorite franchise.
Yeah, and stuff. But I do think that it is a movie. Jason and Joe talked about this too, that it does get a lot of excess hate. The remake does get a lot of excess hate. It's not as bad as what you might have heard. I won't defend it, and I give it to the original, but it shouldn't get as much hate as it does.
Yeah.
It's not that because for me, I don't hate on films. Hate is such a very strong word, so I don't say I never hate on a movie. For me, the Psycho remake, and I don't know, I forgot who's guy something who directed Psycho.
Gus Van Sant.
Gus Van Sant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Gus Van Sant. I don't know what he was trying to do, but for some reason, I don't know why he decided to do a shot-for-shot remake. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And nothing against Vince Vaughn or anything like that. I don't know if he was miscast or something like that. I really had no problem with Aunt H. I thought she was okay, and in the role
she was really good.
I liked her.
Like that, but it's just something. The whole movie was just off. It's not that again. I didn't hate the film. I just thought it was a poor representation of Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece of Psycho.
I can agree with you on that.
It just
But
kind of showed how it something from then doesn't translate into a modern setting.
That's an
In
interesting
its
take.
time and of its time, in 1960, Psycho was great for what it was. But if you take that exact script, no matter how good the actors were, because it actually had a really good cast, it just
They
doesn't
did.
translate into the 2000s. It just doesn't work the same way.
I think for me, what it is, and it's nothing against Vince Vaughn, but Anthony Perkins brought such, and in the book he was a pig, he was a slob. Anthony Perkins brings such a sympathetic character,
And they
brings such
try to
sympathy.
do that, but it doesn't fit with his physical performance.
It doesn't quite. There's just something lacking in Vince Vaughn. And again, I think he's a great actor, and he's great in Clay Pigeons.
Yeah, he can do creepy killer really well.
Yeah, but he just there was a humanity and a sympathy that I think that role. I think if you don't have Perkins, you just don't have it.
That's true. I do feel like there was so much potential there, because like you look at the way that movie could wait, because like it's shot for shot, but a lot of the angles are like inverse from how they were in the original. It's almost a mirrored version of the original Psycho, which was an interesting way to do things. And looking at interviews of like the production crew for that film, all the love and detail they pour into designing those sets and those costumes in order to get the camera angles just right to look like the original, but slightly off and slightly different, was interesting. Like there was so much work that went into that movie. I never would say I would say it's a bad film. It just was ultimately a kind of pointless endeavor, but an interesting experiment.
Yeah, it's more interesting to talk about than to watch, maybe.
I think absolutely, yeah.
I think one of the things that they miss with Vince Vaughn's performance is he was kind of likable in the original Psycho. Like his take is like kind of sympathetic because you feel bad for him because his mother's horrible to him, Or at least you think she is.
That would be an interesting thing to see, like a totally different.
By his mom, you almost like feel bad for him.
You do. When the car, that's the audience, that scene where the car is sinking, we're all, and it kind of stops for a second. Everyone's like, oh God, and you want it to go down, but you want him to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the fact it seems like she keeps him like a little boy, your best friend is your mother, like.
Well, that's true.
Almost like he can't go outside into society and mingle with people and have a life of his own. He's stuck taking care of his mother and in the house and taking care of the hotel, and that's it. That's his life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And all women are dirty, except your mother.
Okay. Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and close off the stream. I want to thank Chris Full Moon 1973 for joining us.
Lovely having you.
Awesome guest.
Thank you for having me.
For hanging, man.
Okay. Now, when I do the host on this stream, I like to give everyone a chance to go on ahead and do free spills on their channel. So, Chris, what's coming up on Full Moon 1973?
Well, since I have a computer now and can actually edit some stuff, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do other than just where I've been and all that for the last year. Because it's been almost exactly a year since I posted my last video. My last video was the stream with Jen and Christian. So there will be at least a channel update coming next week and probably something else.
Cool. Excellent.
So there'll be something coming next week for sure.
Okay, that's
very
good.
Cool. It's good to have you back.
Good to have you.
Welcome back.
Yes. Jen Kristen, what's coming up on Jen's Reviews on the Grave?
We've got some movies we're gonna be reviewing. I mean, that's not anything.
Surprise!
New.
We're gonna talk about movies. I know that's a wild idea that we never have done before, but we're talking about movies.
Yeah, there's a couple that we've missed that when Christian's been gone that we definitely want to get more. We've been doing a lot of religious kind of things, and we're gonna be running that, and we're going by way of Russell Crowe. So there might be a religious film by Russell Crowe coming soon.
Yeah, we got some stuff. We're still in catch up.
Exorcist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Folks,
we're just kind of
Exorcist.
still catching up on some stuff that we missed while I was gone, and then some other stuff we missed while our relative, we were taking care of them from their broken hip and stuff. So, but hopefully we should be back in full force here quite soon. Tales from the Crypt is ongoing as per usual. We are hoping maybe by the end of this month to start back up our top 10 films of each year, horror films of each year of the 1990s. That kind of has gone on another hiatus, and hopefully we will be able to start that back up towards the end of the month.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean, what's coming up on the horror corner?
Yeah, I got a stream coming up. It's kind of gonna. I'm hoping it's like a series because I did one other one called The Horror Court, where I take
Yes,
a
that
movie
was good.
that's not so well liked generally, and we kind of make a case for it. And I'm gonna have my friend Rob from Rob's Nightmares on that, and we're gonna be talking about Elm Street 4.
All right. Good.
So-
That the one was really good. The
It's a
one
good
of
sh-
5 was really good.
It's a good show idea.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
All right.
You
So
need to
for
get
me,
a judge's outfit.
You need a gavel.
I know, right?
Gavel. For me, I currently have my top 5 best and top 5 worst horror movies of 2023 so far. My
Good
rant,
picks.
my review of Devereaux.
Monty, you got
And,
me really excited to watch that movie. If you say it's as bad as it is, I'm very interested.
All I gotta tell you is that you've been warned.
I know, but I love terrible, so I'm down.
I know. And of course,
Okay.
my review of Insidious: The Red Door is up right now as well.
Ah.
Very cool. We need to check that one out.
Yeah. All right. So everyone in the chat, thank you very much for coming, and once again, thank our guest, Full Moon 1973, and everyone else. Please stay safe out there, and always remember that horror rules. Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.
Peace
Night,
out,
guys.
guys.
Be excellent to each other.